Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 96, Midnight Run from 1988. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by Motor Coach Industries. At MCI, you work hard to take care of your business as far as it can go, and they work hard to take it beyond MCI.
Wow, MCI. So what do they do? What is a motor coach? Like, I know what the words imply, but for people who don't know, who actually sponsored us today?
MCI, which is Motor Coach Industries, made the MC9. They made 6,425 of those buses, which is featured in this film.
Very cool. That's actually 2 episodes in a row where it's like numbers and a letter, or letters and a number that signify the main vehicle. And not that this is the main vehicle, but we had the DMC-12, and now we have, what'd you say, the MC-9? So, basically the DeLorean of buses is what I'm trying to say.
It is, yeah.
But shout out to Motor Coach Industries. Thank you for sponsoring the beginning of Robert De Niro Week, which one movie through, no spoilers. I will say that I loved it, but I will also say I don't know that it necessarily belongs in this lap.
Same.
However, no rules. Whatever. Who cares?
I think that it was like on some car movie list though, right?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like, it's not a movie that we were just like, hey, let's do this movie. It's like you look up classic car movies or whatever, whatever. We'll talk about that later. But Joe, first, extracurricular activities since Sunday. I know that work has been beating you down.
It's horrible.
What have you been up to since Sunday?
Nothing. I took a breather, did pretty much nothing, made some smash burgers on Memorial Day for Monday. It's getting warmer. I think that
It is getting warmer.
Yeah, the heat is starting to get to me.
The heat is on, just like Glenn Fry sang.
Yeah, it is. Nothing like that. Oh, I remember I talked to you on Sunday about that I thought that Smothered was back, but the episode that I watched was an hour preview, or like a 30-minute preview for the episode.
So that's how they're able to do this. They're like, hey, we're going to do a preview for the thing that is basically a preview for the rest of the thing.
So there was like an online preview, okay? There was like an on like TLC's website preview, and that was like a 3-minute like trailer, right? And then on Saturday night, they played like a half an hour to an hour long preview episode, and it just like kind of showcased the new people. But then on Sunday night, after 90 Day, before the 90 days, they had the real episode, and it is wild. So that's what I've been up to. That's the only thing that I watched.
Well, very cool. What have I been up to? Let's see here. What have I watched of note? Anything of note? Let me bring up the letterbox thing. Oh, so I finished The Last Dance.
Okay, cool.
So here's the thing, and I saw some criticisms of this, and I don't think I wasn't as harsh on this, but they're like, don't confuse great source material with a great documentary.
Oh, true.
Which I think is a fair thing, because the footage, the access they have, the story they tell is amazing. But I don't know that the documentary itself is as good as like people are making it. Like,
it doesn't have a great story. It like great documentaries, like The Thin Blue Line, right? Like something that's like put together. It's a documentarian's thing. You're right. Yeah, this just has great source material. I can agree with that.
Like when we saw,
it's great.
I'm assuming you saw the OJ doc Made in America. That's a fantastic documentary, because that's just like a holy shit. Like the way that they tell the story, it's like, oh my god, this is great. But here it's just like the one thing I was having trouble with The Last Dance, and I don't think it's not a huge takeaway, because you get used to it, but I feel like the structure of like going back and forth in time, like telling the 1998 story but also telling the story of a different year, it's sometimes hard to be like, wait, is this quote unquote current day or is this in the past? Because it's like a weird...
Nah, that didn't bother me too much.
It wasn't a huge thing, but it was just like I don't know when we are, because like
they don't distinguish it well. I agree with that.
Like they'll show the sliding timeline, but like if you miss that, you're like, I don't know what, like just like a thing like they're playing golf and it's like, I don't know when this, like, not that it matters, but I feel like it's kind of clumsy, because it's not like a career spanning where it's like, okay, OJ in college, OJ in the pros, OJ murdering, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, this is 92 and now this is 95. Can't you tell the difference? It's like, no, not really. I mean, it's basically like they all look the same.
Yeah, he was bald the whole time, and everybody, like, Scottie Pippen was still right next to him. So like, yeah.
The only differentiating factor is Dennis Rodman's hair, but even that's changing too much to be like, I don't know when we are.
That's
but
very
again,
true.
A minor nit to pick. If you like sports at all, if you like basketball at all, It's a great documentary to watch. It feels 10 hours. Like, it's not like they don't have enough material. Like,
No,
there's
they
a
didn't
lot
stretch
there.
it. They had a ton of source material, and it's cool. You get the interviews with Michael Jordan. You get the interviews with Phil Jackson, Scottie Pippen. It works well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying though.
I also watched Macgruber. Have you seen Macgruber?
No.
Macgruber's kind of like a parody of like MacGyver and all other 80s and 90s action movies, and stars Will Forte. It's dumb, but it's a lot of fun. I own the DVD. No, wait, it's somewhere. Maybe it's on Stars. It's not somewhere accessible. I have the DVD, but it's also like on Stars or something. So if you have Stars again,
it's like, damn, you're like the spokesman for Stars here, aren't you?
I'm the spokesman for Stars and for Showtime, because like, you know,
yeah,
they
that's
need
right.
a little help.
Showtime's the other one. Yeah,
it's the two of them. The Stars app, by the way, is it's not good. So it just doesn't load on Xbox. Like, I have to reset my Xbox to use Stars sometimes. I'm just like, this is not sustainable. Like, what are you doing? And then I watched The Apple today, which is a Canon film. This is, for the film club that we run.
Yep.
This was your pick for the month because you weren't too familiar with the Canon films, and I was like, this is yours. It's set in the distant future of 1994, and it's a musical dystopia, kind of a rock opera. It's considered one of the worst movies of all time. I think it's on Prime. A thing that legitimately makes no sense, that is one of the biggest fiascos in movie history. The Apple, I cannot recommend it enough.
I'm excited to watch it. I love shitty films. I love films that are like, literally, how did this get made? You know what I mean? Like those kind of things. So
yeah, they covered this. This was also, there was a book called My Year of Flops, which was based on an article or like a series of articles on The Onion, or no, on the AV Club. Sorry, the AV Club, which is the film criticism, like the actual news source of The Onion. And this guy, I think it was Nathan Rabin, did this whole series where it was like he would watch movies that flopped, that just did not do well, that people hated, and he would determine if they were like a secret success, if it was like, actually, this was like a good movie, like people just didn't understand it or whatever. If it was a failure, which is the worst part, it's just bad. Like, there's no point.
Is just horrible.
Or a fiasco where it's like, this is so insanely bad and like so
weird,
wild that like it's truly like the worst of the worst. Like, just like, you have to see this. And this was a fiasco. It's just like, I don't understand what's going on. So I knew about it from that because it was like one of the most enthusiastic write-ups, because it's like, what the fuck is The Apple? And then when How This Get Made covered it, I was like, okay, finally I need to watch this, and it does not disappoint.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to say is that HBO Max launched today, and there's a whole bunch of stuff on there. For your reference, all 8 Harry Potter movies are on there. They just made this whole big deal to buy those.
That's cool.
All the Studio Ghibli movies, like all the Miyazaki movies, are on there, which I'm not the world's biggest fan of, but I've only seen a couple of them, so I'm excited that they're all
I need to watch
legal to stream. I think from what I understand, it's the first time in the US that they're streaming legally anywhere.
That's interesting.
It's all here on day one, and it's the HBO Max thing is pretty cool. I thought I was going to have to pay extra for it, but it's just free because I pay for HBO. So
that's what Adam was just saying. He said he has HBO Go, so his Max subscription was included. He said the app is really nice too.
I also do have 2 updates to things that we talked about last episode. That as we were editing and as I thought about things more, I have answers to questions for you.
Okay.
So in the Back to the Future episode, you asked me, what artist would I like to have
to perform, not to be like an actor, but to actually perform.
We talk about these people a lot, and I'm surprised that I didn't think of it. I think I was just thrown off guard by the question. I didn't know where to begin.
Okay.
Although if I began where I thought while I was editing, I would have gotten there very quickly. But I got a 2 for 1. So I got an artist, and I have a way to take this to the next level, literally. This is how you bring in Elon Musk and you bring in Grimes. Because Grimes performs, and Elon Musk is like, Dom, let's go to space. That's a 2 for 1. That's a 2 for 1.
You nailed it. That's awesome. Yeah, I want Grimes to just recreate the Boiler Room set.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I want.
Playing Venga Bus over and over again. Elon, let's go. And, she's performing a concert at SpaceX as the team gears up.
Yeah, it's her in the background, but there's, one, see-through wall into, the engineering room, and, Tej and Roman are, building rocket ships.
And just Grimes is there with her, just mixing things and putting songs on there, and Bieber and Nicki Minaj, and
pregnant with xenon flux, baby.
Yeah. X-A12, please, thank you.
Is that the real? Is that how you pronounce it?
It's X-A-E, which is it's pronounced Ash. X-A-12, but they just changed it to -XII, like Roman numerals. Still A12, it's still pronounced the same way, but X-A12.
God.
I also do want to say, this is something
though.
I messaged you on Facebook today.
What?
When we were talking about in the last news update about Fast and Furious News, we talked about Brian going to be confirmed for 10, right? We got this coverage,
Yes.
like he's coming back, he's confirmed for 10. And we talked about how, like, they were the ones who knew that Han was coming back in 9. They were the ones who knew that Ryan Reynolds was going to be in Hobbs and Shaw, whatever. And we're like, yeah, cool. Like, but we even discredited them because we were like, you know, he might say 10 or 15 things. He gets these 2 right and he rides high on those, right?
Yep.
But then I was thinking today, wait a minute. No one knew, no one even suggested that Han was in 9 until the trailer. Like, we lost our goddamn... Like, everybody lost their minds.
Yeah, there wasn't even like a hint.
No, if there was an inkling of a rumor out before then, we would have been like, oh, okay, yeah, so they were right. Like, it would have ruined everything. So whoever this guy is like, oh, I predicted Han was going to come back. It's like, bullshit, asshole. No one likes the tuna. Like, where are you? Like, who are you to say that you got this, like, track record of being right? Because, like, no, you didn't say... I mean, you might have said it to your friends, like, I bet Han's in 9. But, like, it wasn't news.
It's the ultimate troll, too, by the way, that, like, them writing it in the article, like, the same guy that knew that Han was going to be in 9. It's like, well, we can't... He never said Han was going to be in 9 to anybody of importance, so...
Right. Remember that guy on Twitter who was like... I bet Kanye is going to name his kid, like, Northwest or some shit, and, like, that blew up.
Yes.
But people were like, he could have said, like, he could have sent out, like, 200 tweets that was just like, I bet Southwest, East-West, or, like, just everyone, and then, like, deleted all of them and been like, oh my God, look at me, I was right, right?
Exactly.
He didn't even do that. It's not like he has a tweet. Like, you don't have proof. Like, if you had, like, a date stamp, time stamp, it'd be like, okay, at least you had the thought, but, like... There's no way to prove what, but it's just like, goddamn, like, we were all duped. We're always duped by these stupid fucking clickbait articles.
Yes, we are.
Or like the one that Wes sent us today. It's just like, Fast 5 proves why Han had all that money in Tokyo Drift. It's like, yeah, no shit, we see them steal $120 million. Like, we know that. It's not a surprise. It's not a secret.
No.
Like, that's the plot of 5.
That is the whole plot, yeah.
News. Get riled up.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you're into it.
I'm going to be into it until we get to rock the vote, and then I'm going to fall off the cliff. But, Joe, we have a Patreon page on the show, Too Fast, TwoForever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleinman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, and Jerry Robinson for supporting us at the $5 level or above. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you guys.
If you want a shout out, if you want a movie pick per lap, you know, we're doing Midnight Run, not really a car movie, just, you know, throw your hat. Be like, it doesn't really have Michelle Rodriguez. Oh, we didn't announce that yet. It doesn't really have this actor in it. You'd still do it, right? Remember Midnight Run? Like, we set a weird precedent, I think. But anyway, TooFast2Forever.com.
Oh, and ultimately, we want to talk about movies that you want to listen to us talk about anyway, so what the fuck does it matter?
I was also thinking a future lap, and this makes sense, I think. It doesn't make sense for this show from afar, but in terms of people who listen, like one lap, okay, Joe, what are your 25 favorite movies? And we'll just watch them all. And then my 25 favorite movies. This is like, at some point, like, we're going to run out of, like, things that reasonably make sense. You know, like in 6 laps or whatever, right?
Yeah, we got nothing but time, brother.
We also have an email address here on the show, family@cageclub.me. And Joe, we've got 5 emails today, one of which is a car picture from Jerry, so I'm going to skip that for now.
Okay.
We add that to the queue, but we have 4 more emails from 4 different people. First up, from Haley, subject line, Hey Fam.
What up, Haley?
She says, Hey family, I hope you're all well and staying safe. While I was listening to episode 90, what was episode 90? Episode 90 was Tokyo Drift. Okay, cool.
Okay.
While I was listening to episode 90, I realized that it's more normal to not have called the police for any reason, but it just surprised me the difference in relationships between the public and police in different areas. Without exposing major... Also, between America and Australia, I'm sure, is wildly different.
Yeah.
Without exposing major details, whenever I've had to call both the emergency number and non-emergency number, I've never had a bad experience. Only once I've had an issue with police, and that was face-to-face in a police station. And to be honest, I think she was more of a clerk than a police officer.
Makes sense.
I hope that if anyone has to call the first responder for anything, they're dealt with respectfully and with kindness. That is, unless you are doing the wrong thing, then, well, karma.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't calling them to try to, like, commit a crime with the police. I was trying to get this cat saved, so.
Do you know about Crimer Show?
No, what is that?
Crimer Show was a Twitter account, which was amazing. It was basically like a cliche police drama, but it was on Twitter, like one tweet at a time, back when it was 140 characters. Not like broken English, but it was like intentionally misspelled words. Puppy was spelled P-U-P-E-Y, and all he would say is woof. And like, it was this unfolding narrative over a series of like months. Crimer Show, and they had merch and stuff, and like, it was amazing. Like, it was so weird and good and fun back when Twitter wasn't like an entirely entirely a cesspool.
Yes, yeah.
I think it still all exists, or they probably cataloged it somewhere.
Yeah, it exists somewhere.
Like Crime or Show, yeah. She says, I do hope I can join the next family watch party, but with you guys showing it on a Sunday night, Monday morning for me, it's a bit hard while I'm at work. Corona on a Friday afternoon I can get away with. Watching a Fast and Furious movie with family is less likely. Well, actually, Joe, so, okay, hold on. This episode comes out June 2nd.
Yeah.
We got to announce your birthday is next week.
My birthday's next week.
We should have done this already.
We should have done it already.
So this is Tuesday, June 2nd. Your birthday is Tuesday the 9th?
Monday the 8th.
So the weekend before, this upcoming weekend, we're going to have another family watch party, right?
I would like to, and we could do it Saturday night if you want.
We could do Saturday night, which then means that people in Australia like Jake and Haley and whoever can join Sunday afternoon as opposed to like Monday morning or whatever.
Yeah, that works for me.
The next episode we're recording at the time... Actually, not even true. We could either do the episode that you and I are going to record that Sunday, but it's a movie that I haven't seen and I'm going to need to actually watch, so I don't think we're going to do that. So I think it's just going to be a movie you want to see. So have you picked what movie you want to see, or is it going to be a surprise, or are we going to announce it beforehand?
I'm going to think about it. We can announce it beforehand.
When we record this Sunday, we record Ronin, for the episode that comes out next Friday.
Yes.
Which will be the day... God damn, this is so confusing. Which is the day before the watch party. So the watch party is Saturday, June 6th.
Yes.
And we'll send an email for this.
Yes.
So we will let you know next episode what we're going to watch.
And I promise it'll be like a movie that probably everyone's seen. Actually, you know what? I think I know what it'll be.
Do you want to tell me now, or do you want to think about it?
I want to think about it. I want to make sure that's my final choice.
She says, I loved having Brian back for the American Graffiti episode.
Same.
It was a lovely surprise to hear his voice. I got to send this to Brian.
Well, it was a surprise to us, too.
It really was. She says, all the older movies you guys have covered lately, I will confess to have never seen them, but they are now on my watch list, which seems to grow more and more every day. Well, welcome to the club there, Haley.
Yeah, don't look at Joey's.
Better get back to work. Speak soon. Stay safe, Haley XO.
Well, thank you for writing in, Haley. And we hope that you can join this family watch party. And you heard live that we even adjusted and picked the date for hopefully that you can make it.
I will also say, I'm just realizing as I'm messaging Brian is beloved down under.
Yeah.
He's got Shawnee, he's got other Australian listeners for his show.
Oh, that's right.
He's got Jenna Guillaume from BuzzFeed, who lives in Australia on his show a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
Now we got Haley loving showing love his way. He's big in Australia. Next email from Hector. Funny story from a while back.
Okay, tell us, Hector. What's up, buddy?
Sup, Joey's? I'm just sitting when I remembered my dad was trying to order a McWrap from McDonald's. I don't know what the McWrap is. Do you know the McWrap?
Yes, yeah. It's like one or two tenders, some lettuce, a sauce, and a tortilla.
Oh, okay, yeah. Maybe I get that from Wendy's. Yeah, I get the
KFC made
spicy
one.
chicken go wrap or whatever from Wendy's. It's the same thing, I guess, right?
All this. I mean, it's a chicken
It's all
tender
the same thing.
and a tortilla.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He's trying to order a McWrap from McDonald's before they were discontinued, at least where I'm from. He says, my dad has a moderately heavy Spanish accent when he speaks English, and since he was ordering through the drive-thru, people don't always get what he says. On this occasion, my dad said he wanted a crispy chicken McWrap. However, the woman who was getting his order misinterpreted that he asked for, I kid you not, a crispy rat. She was laughing her ass off. My dad, though, didn't get it, so he asked what was so funny. She told him, are you sure you want a crispy rat? Then my dad went red-faced in embarrassment. He was able to get what he ordered, and he got an extra small fry for giving the cashier a great laugh. My mom still brings it up to remind him about it, although my dad doesn't like it. That's all, so stay fast. Stay furious.
That's a cute story. I'm sorry that your dad was embarrassed about it. That is a really cute story. And I like that, if you're working at the drive-thru and you heard that. Besides, the speaker box, I get that he might have an accent, but even still, the speaker box. Below. Oh, God damn it.
I know. I was also thinking that, imagine if Linny was working that drive-thru window, she would have said, get the fuck out of my restaurant. We don't order rats here. I hate rats. I can't watch this scene.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, that's a cute story. I like it.
Yeah. All right. Next email from Jerry Robinson. Subject line,
What's
vacation
up,
spots.
What's up, Jerry? Oh, cool. I want to hear what he's saying. Go ahead.
Says, hey guys, at the end of the last episode, you were asking about where we were before shit went down. I went with my girlfriend and her family to Tennessee for a wedding in mid-March.
Ooh.
Then when we flew back to San Francisco, that's when everything started to shut down.
In mid-March, too, so you were, real close to the beginning. Jeez.
Yeah, because when I was supposed to fly down for South by, it was I think it was Friday the 13th, because that's how everybody remembers it. That's the day that lockdown started, right? So, that was just, we weren't in lockdown yet, but it was just things are breaking bad. That was when, my cousin's aunt's brother works for the military. He says that you're not going to be... It's God damn it. But yeah, Friday the 13th was, the kind of the beginning of the end, sort of.
I like Tennessee. Have you ever been to Tennessee?
I've been to... I've had food in, oh God, what's the city? Knoxville, a couple times.
Knoxville.
No, Knoxville. I've driven through Nashville. I haven't stopped in Nashville. And then I spent a night in Memphis on my trip because I went to Graceland and I barbecued a couple different places too.
That's cool.
But my sister loves Nashville. My parents visited her in Nashville. They saw a Casey Musgraves concert in Nashville.
Cool.
They're big fans
man.
of the city. I want to go to Nashville. It's just I haven't.
It's like smaller than you would expect. It's pretty small. I guess maybe you could expect that. But there's like a lot of bars and like people drinking and girls saying woo. So
I mean, just like Letty in this minute. We'll get to that. Jerry says, when this is finally lifted, like Joe too, I want to go on vacation with my ride or die. And we were talking about either going to Monterey, a cruise, probably not. I would steer clear of cruises. I mean, it's never been a better time to buy a cruise right now, but just steer clear of cruises. Like there are certain things just like, nope, not for a while. Just not for a while.
When it started to break, did I tell you that like my one coworker was like, bro, we should get on a cruise ship right now. Like, let's go right now. He's like, it's going to be so cheap for this week. And we're like, but what if we can't get off the cruise ship? And then like 2 or 3 days after he said that, he was like, yeah, I'm glad we didn't go on a cruise.
Like, this is now, like, there's certain things like that where it's like, if you have disposable money, you can get, like, ridiculous deals on things, but it's also, like, it's that way for a reason because it's not really safe. Like, you probably shouldn't be doing that.
Yep.
He says train ride to Seattle or maybe Disneyland, but I highly doubt that one. Well, I was actually just talking to a friend who's thinking about moving, and I was talking about, like, how when my sister and I moved down to Austin, we were between Austin and Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
Because I love the Pacific Northwest, and, like, basically, they're kind of the same city, but just it's cold versus warm, and there's festivals and stuff down in Austin. But I would love to, I think, one day at least live or visit the Pacific Northwest again, spend more time there, because I was only there for a couple days. Especially watching that History of the Seattle Mariners thing on YouTube, I was like, man, I really want to go back to Seattle, because like there's just like a vibe out there, which I think is really cool.
I've never been. I really want to go see it too.
I was in Seattle for all of 3 hours. That's how long I spent in Seattle.
That's fun.
I was in Portland, and then I went west of Portland to stay with a friend, and then went to Seattle for 3 hours, and was out of there heading towards Montana. And I was just like, I'll be back one day. He says, or maybe Disneyland, but highly doubt that one. Disneyland, so Disney World is reopening in July. I think Disneyland is maybe opening before that. That's also tricky, where it's just like, it's, it's out in the open, which is good, but
you're still going to be in tight spaces.
Yeah. Pick your spots.
I was like more about the imagery, the mental imagery of it than like the reality of it. So those were good answers, Jerry. Thank you.
I agree. Next email, last email from Wes. Subject line, Furious 7. What up, fam?
What up, Wes?
Those were a couple, of super fun episodes since my last email. Jeff was a great guest, and I like this way of thinking about F7 as a transitional movie. I just have a few things today, so let's jump in. I will make a point of order that his email is just as long as every other email, so just a few things just means I'm writing an email. Says, first of all, in regards to the minute from last week, I wanted to point out that Jesse is part of the heist team. When they pick up the cars for the last heist, Dom says, all right, we're one man short. Letty, I need you on the left side. Then Letty says, something's wrong. We shouldn't be doing this without Jesse. So he's definitely with them usually. Ooh.
That's a good point. We didn't think about that. That's true.
But we're not there in the minute. I feel like my memory of the last 40 minutes of this movie are not good anymore because we haven't gotten there yet. Or maybe it's just by comparison because my memory of the first... Although, sorry, Alex, once again, even the memory of the first 60 minutes is not necessarily good.
We have a lot of things tattooed in our brains, and we've gotten rid of a lot of other things because we have so many other things tattooed in our brains right now about
What is it, gas tanks for brains?
Gas tanks for brains, nitrous oxide in our blood.
Says, okay, now for the big argument. The whole Leon thing is wide open for interpretation, and I like to walk that middle line. My impression of the crew was always that Letty and Dom are a few years apart, and she's been around forever, living down the street.
Yeah.
Vince and Dom became friends in the 3rd grade, like Vince says, and I imagine Leon and Jesse around Letty's age and showing up in their late teens at the earliest, like 18, 19.
Okay.
This ties into my image of 1327 as the Toretto crew house. When Mia says they showed up one day and never left, I took that to be literal. Like they showed up at a party or something, made friends with Dom, Letty, Vince, and Mia, and just moved into the house. Whether or not that's true is impossible to know, but that's how I pictured it. I imagine everyone was living in that house together, so in that case, I also always thought Mia was going through the team history chronologically.
Yes.
He says, as far as Leon looking or feeling like a criminal, I don't know about that. If anything, Vince feels like a criminal. That's what I was saying. Like, I don't think that Leon's not. I just think that he's not necessarily inherently more so than Vince.
Okay.
Wes says, Leon feels like he's a bit mischievous, but I have a hard time imagining him robbing a liquor store or something. He's too much of a follower. I can see him being led into doing some rough stuff, but not coming up with it on his own. I guess maybe in that sense I can see Joe's point.
Yes.
He seems more concerned about pleasing the person he looks up to than what his conscience might say, which might get him into trouble, but I don't think he's a born troublemaker. So my verdict is, I think you both have valid points, if only because we have no evidence to prove either of you totally correct. I have the long list of arguments that have no end. At least I didn't start this one. But for the record, Joe, a feeling is not convincing, and I'm leaning more toward Joey on this one. Maybe I just have a soft spot for Leon? Question mark?
Maybe you guys just see too much of the good in people.
He says, oh, and to cap that point, Joey, and this kind of goes to that, you referred to Leon as mysterious. I'd like to offer a counterpoint. He's not mysterious. He's boring. There's a difference, so the two can be confused without enough context.
And we don't see a lot of him to, like, really suss it out, right?
But you got that feeling, bro.
I get what Wes is saying in the sense that, like, he's a follower. I don't think that he's initiating crimes. But in the same sense, in the reciprocal, Leon seems the most approachable. If I were committing a crime and needing, like, a third guy, Leon seems like the one that I'd be like, oh, he wouldn't even put up resistance. He'd be like, yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
If you, like, went to pitch a new crime...
I just want you to know that that is more of an argument than you had at all in the last, like, in that 10-minute thing a couple episodes ago.
Okay.
You were just like, yeah, he just looks like a criminal. It's like, he just feels like a criminal. It's like, okay,
yeah,
but, like, why?
I couldn't put it into words what I was, like, getting, like, from his, you know, like when you're like, somebody seems weaselly and you're like, why? And you're like, I don't know. It's just like it's like an inherent feeling I have.
But I also think, like, to that, and it might be an extreme, it could be like, hey, like, let's all just, like, give up a life of crime and, like, become, like, Jehovah's Witnesses. He might just be like, yeah, sure, like, if you guys are down to, like, it just feels like, to Wes' point,
exactly.
you do whatever. It's not necessarily, he only feels like a criminal because he's around criminals.
This is a feeling, so I know you'll get mad about it. But he also seems like he's the most likely to have been, like, involved in, like, street gangs as children, too, because he just was, like, around a kid that was, like, you know, stealing candy, and Leon's like, cool, I'll steal candy. You know what I mean? Just because he's like, yeah, whatever.
But I mean, on the flip side, he could have just been around, like, you know, youth
Catholic
group and, like,
school.
been a real God kid.
Yeah, he could have. He could have been, like, a super prayer.
You talked about movies and TV shows with the titular line. Anytime we hear someone say the titular line in anything, Mrs. West and I always refer to one of our favorite UCB sketches. Yes. Do you know this before I even continue?
No.
Do you know titular line guy? A guy who claims to have the titular line in several classics. Have you seen it? The end goes a little off the rails and ties into the episode's through line, but it's worth a watch anyway. So this guy is like, he goes into a video store and
I just can't believe I'm driving a car.
Just keep your hands on the wheel, Merrill.
I'm just so tired of all this traffic. I just can't wait till we get out of Africa.
You're a really good driver, Merrill.
That is so fake.
But just search on YouTube, titular line guy. It's like the only thing I've seen from that show, but I really, really like it. I've seen that a bunch of times because it's so dumb, but it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Titular line guy. Actually, I'll send you the link right now. Hold on.
Perfect, thank you.
Because he copied it in the thing. In regards to Dom racing Sean at the end of 3, beginning of 7, I always wondered if he won because there's interesting implications either way. We're led to believe Dom never loses because he's the best, right?
Yes.
So he loses to a one-movie teenage character, then it's a big deal. But if he won, does this mean that Dom is the new DK? Which is something that we've talked about before.
Yeah, didn't we talk about it with Brian like a long time ago?
So. Yeah, maybe
like,
on the ride-along lap.
Does he get to keep the belt? Do you give it back? Is it like up for you know, like can you claim the belt back now if Dom's not there to defend his title?
Oh, speaking of belts, and speaking of, actually this ties in multiple ways.
What?
But Brian and Ride Along the Mikester just did a 2-hour 17-minute 2F length 2-hour and 17-minute episode about blockers, which of course has the great WWVDD scene.
Yes.
It's also just a great movie otherwise. But they talk for literally 37 minutes, I think, or maybe 31 minutes, about John Cena and wrestling and his return to the ring and everything. And so, like...
Oh, very cool.
Brian messaged me. He's just like, how should I do this? Should I release it separately? I was like, no, just, like, keep it in. Like, it's your show. You know, you and Mike is going to be fun anyway.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe add a disclaimer, like, in there, be like, hey, this is not about the movie if you want to skip it. But, like, if you care about wrestling, and I feel like there's probably a lot of crossover between between wrestling and the Fast and Furious. I'm guessing. If you
yeah.
care about that, listen to that. Plus, I mean, it's Mike and Brian, who everybody likes, everybody knows from the show. The Blockers episode of High School Slumber Party is a very long episode, and if you really are craving wrestling content, there's a very, very long where they don't even mention Blockers. It's like they were talking about a completely different thing. You'd saying about getting the belt back. Just want to throw that out there, that if you're looking for a pod, as though we don't give you enough already, too much already, the High School Slumber Party episode of Blockers was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Wes goes on, Twinkie tells Sean he's been beating people all across Asia. How many titles does Dom have internationally that we don't know about?
Yeah. Well, he has like one in Cuba, right? Because he beats like the fastest guy in Cuba.
Keep your car. Your respect's good enough.
Yeah. In like London, he beats the guy, right, to get the cars. You're right. He must have like a ton of international.
In Brazil, they do. We don't see it. They just cut away, right? So and if he's beating all over Asia, he's just everywhere he goes. All he does is win, win, win. No matter what.
Yeah.
He says, my last point's actually something I was thinking about regarding Fate. We talked about it a little, if the plot was supposed to revolve around Brian or not, but for the first time the other day, I really considered what Fate could have been if the story was the same, but if Brian was still around, and I got super bummed. Whether or not you think Dom turning on the family is a compelling idea, just imagine the stakes involved if Brian had been the one who was betrayed. They tried to put that on Letty in Fate, but it didn't work as well because for better or worse, Dom and Brian is the true love story of these movies.
Amen.
It would have been like a reverse of Brian betraying Dom in 1, but also Brian would understand because Dom did it for his kid, and Brian would do anything for Jack and little Giselle. By the way, did we know Brian and Mia's second kid was named Giselle?
Am
I
true?
Blanking on this reveal? I don't know.
No way. I don't know. Is it real? Is it like
Brian
written
and
somewhere?
Mia's second kid name.
There was no reveal because we would have been like
Brian and Mia's baby on the Fast and Furious wiki. Mia and Brian's baby, a boy or a girl? Because the videos on YouTube show it's a girl. Please help me. Oh, this is from 2015. They have a son named Jack. She has a girl.
Because she says it's a little girl when she's on the phone with that awkward phone conversation.
There's a wiki for Jack, and his top quote is, "Cars don't fly." Jack mimicking Brian.
Oh, good. Yeah, that works.
I'm seeing it. There's nothing about his...
Where did you get this information from?
Let me go on. Let's see if he responds. I feel like it could have been some really great character moments. Oh, this is Brian and Fate. And now Fate will be a movie that also makes me very sad instead of one that's just fun, but kind of misses the mark. Well, that's all I have for this week. We might keep going on some classic car movies. Mrs. West wants to watch the OG Italian Job, and our friends want to watch the Cannonball Run with us.
Oh, cool.
Because
Both
they've seen it and really like it.
Perfect.
I'll report back on how they go over. Until next time, stay furious.
Yeah, let us know, Wes.
Yeah, and also let us know what's going on. Hopefully he responds in this episode, we can say, because, I can't find anything about that. And, so they're just going to name their babies. Okay, at the end of 8, when they're like, hey, meet Brian, right? It's like, well, you should have named him Paul. Brian's not dead. Paul's dead. It's a different thing. But I get that, right? But, are they going to keep naming babies after people who have gone? He could have named him Han. And this is all weird.
It's all weird.
I don't remember where I read it. I think I Googled it, says Wes.
Okay.
Please find it again, because it's driving us crazy. That's all the emails for today. If you want to email us, family@cageclub.me. Just send us a note, drop us a line, say hello, rankings, where you want to go after quarantine is over, whatever you want to do, family@cageclub.me. Also, leave us a review on Apple if you have not already.
Please.
Thank you so very much. On the Streets, Joe.
Yes.
News about the Fast and Furious, anything you've seen since Sunday?
Absolutely nothing.
Rock the vote. The Rock president. America hits rock bottom with President Donald Trump. That's a play on words, I guess.
Yeah, close.
So there's a lot of things on here that are very anti-Trump that have nothing to do with The Rock. And I've searched Dwayne Johnson president. Still about his book, nothing here. So it does not seem, once again, like he is
running
for president. The last thing to do before we talk about Midnight Run is the Fast and Furious minute 63. I have 2 titles for this.
Go ahead.
I have either R.I.P. the Fast and Furious minute from 2020 to 2020, or Baby's First Montage.
I like R.I.P. the Fast and Furious minute 2020 to 2020.
There was the episode of Sunny where Dee, I think she's trying to scam. It might be the scamming episode, but they have the funeral for the baby that she never had, and it just says Barnabas Reynolds 2016 or 2018 or whatever it is dash too soon, and it's just a black and white picture of a kid who was not her kid, having a funeral in Patty's. So
he's a comedian now, like more famous than he was, but he used to do these videos called Blake Vapes. Did I ever make you watch any of these? And he was just like exactly what you'd imagine, and he like did this one. He was like outside with a shovel, and they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Digging a grave for my haters. R.I.P. 2018, 2018." Like, it cracks me up, and that's what it made me think of, so that made me really laugh. I like that title better.
R.I.P. the Fast and Furious Minute 2020 to 2020.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey guys, Joey here. Real quick update. I'm not dropping the audio for the minute in this episode because it's just a minute of the song Debonair by Dope, or Dope by Debonair. I already forget. I'm so sorry. I'd rather not have another copyright claim by YouTube on this video, and you're not missing anything in the audio. Anyway, here's a quick impression of Joe doing the song.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of the episode. So the reason that titled is because, although, okay.
I've been warning you.
This is, and Joe, you were right, you have been warning about this minute.
Yeah.
It's going to continue, because this is not the end of this. But
no,
the baby's
and it gets
first montage,
worse.
the reason why it's RIP is because there's more going on in this minute than maybe the last 5 or 10 minutes combined.
But nothing's really happening, and everything moves so fast.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but also, like, there is a lot happening. It's narratively a lot. So there's a couple weird... Hold on, we'll get to it in a second. So here's what actually goes on. So we have Brian, Tanner, Bilkins, and maybe Muse join the Metropolitan Police SWAT as they gear up.
Yep.
Brian dons a face mask and gets some pre-takedown encouragement from Tanner. SWAT finishes gearing up atop the parking deck of the MacArthur. They roll out and enter the restaurant where Lance and others are eating. Meanwhile, the team is hard at work on an Eclipse. Leon works on the tachometer.
Yep.
Dom carries over a canister of Nas.
Yep.
Letty rolls out from working underneath the car. Then, Dom and Letty get cozy with some post-garage work fanfic-esque activities.
Oh, yeah.
Letty says something to Dom that we can't hear and then tears off his shirt. They make out against the Eclipse, then Dom lifts her by the ass to carry her.
Yes.
Letty waves a rag like, "Yeehaw, cowboy," as Dom moves him to the couch. Letty wipes Dom's brow as he sits down, then nestles his face into Letty's chest. She lays her head on him. Then...
Yes.
We see Lance eating a meal with 2 other men at the New Saigon Mall. As the team raids the restaurant, Lance tries to run out the back. Minute ends. So what's interesting, I think, is that we see basically the actual criminal ring that we know is the criminal ring. We're going to learn as the criminal ring is Dom's crew doing their thing. Not doing criminal activities, but they're doing the cops and the police and the FBI, this combined task force.
Yes.
Which, by the way, update has at least 24 officers. I think I said 13 last time. You can see at least 24 in this one.
Okay.
Huge takedown team. They're doing so much work to take down the other crew, right? Johnny Tran's crew. They send at least 8 guys to take out Lance. Like, that feels like overkill. And I'm curious to see how many other locations...
They have guns. They have guns, right? We know that Johnny Tran's crew carries guns.
But they're eating in a... They're eating like in an Asian restaurant in a mall. Like, you want 8 armed guys?
Yeah, I mean, they might be armed. There's three possibly armed criminals at this mall.
I also do want to say that one of them has on the back of his jacket a big word that says Vietnam. It's like, yeah, I wonder what ethnicity they are.
Not like a veteran's jacket. It just
says, like, my family is from Vietnam. That's where I'm born and raised. That's my heritage. That's my ethnicity. Although, to be fair, it's probably in like a quarter of a second, right? It's just like...
You being from New Jersey, you know that the Italians do this all the time. That just like wear a shirt that just says like Italy, like real big on the back of it, and you're like, okay, cool.
So I think it's funny that like we were accidentally racist, and it's just like, oh, if we had just gotten to this minute. We would have known. Yeah, for sure. So this is a joint FBI SWAT police takedown. I want to see how many more. Like they're gonna take down Johnny Tran, but I want to see if these 24 people or however many people, about 24, are split into different people. It doesn't seem like
they crew out.
It doesn't seem like anybody we know. This is just like 8 generic cops taking down Lance.
Yeah, because Brian goes to Johnny Tran's house in the next minute.
Is he with Tanner and Bilkins?
I think so.
Okay. What's interesting to me is that the car that they roll up in, so there's the 8 cars, there's like 4 sedans and 4 SUVs, and then the car that we see approaching during the last minute is Brian, Tanner, and Bilkins, and maybe Muse. Then they get out. That car seems to be left there. So like, hey, we're here, we're going to leave this car, we're going to take the rest of them. We see the other 8 move. We don't see that car move. I don't know, just a weird little detail. But let's talk about for the second. Is this the most sexual minute in Fast and Furious history? Probably, right?
Minus Giselle sitting on Han's lap.
But that's even, like, to use your word, like, in the realm of sexuality, I think that's closer to wholesome than, like, lifting your lover up by her ass and then, like, burying your face in her chest.
Yeah, but we got Brian hooking up with Mia in the last minute, so. But yes, this is the most overtly sexual with a ton of masculine energy.
And feminine energy. Like
yes.
Basically, Letty and Dom are in, like, a BDE competition right now. Like, who's got bigger dick energy right now? Because they are both, the way that she rips off his shirt and he's just like, yeah, let's do it. Like, it's ferocious.
It is.
I also do want to point out that there's a weird, did you notice a jump in time?
I did, only because, and you're getting to something that I wanted to talk about. Leon is there, and Leon is working on the Supra, Brian's new orange Supra.
Okay.
Every other time, like later on, you see Dom and Letty working on this blue Eclipse that we had never seen before. And I had a new theory that I want to propose. It's very mild.
Is Leon in an alternate universe? Oh, it's wild. I thought you were going to say he's in an alternate universe, but okay.
Yeah, it's parallel timelines.
Interdimensional
running.
Fast and Furious, but go on.
We know that Brian fucked up his Eclipse that he was supposed to give to Dom, right? Oh, but they blew it up. I was thinking possibly this Eclipse is Brian's green Eclipse that they're rebuilding.
Oh.
But if the car blew up, I mean, it's not impossible, right?
This is where I can't help because I don't understand. Like, the car that they bring, right, that Brian brings to the garage, the 10-minute car, like, looks beyond fucked. It also looks like, remember at the beginning of Gone in 60 Seconds, the original, the car that they buy for $300, they're like, how are you going to fix this up? And they just don't. Like, it looks on par with that. So I don't know at what point. I guess it comes down to, like, is the body salvageable? Is the engine salvageable? And if so, it's worth it?
Yeah, it's more engine. Like, they're trying to save the engine. They'll find, like, other body panels and pieces.
That would be weird. Like, I guess they're outside Transwings West, right?
Yes.
I think in that parking. I'm just trying to remember the quiz now. In the parking lot with the Confucius statue.
Yes.
And the car blows up, right? Nas, run, yell, shoot. Yeah. Where does that car go? Like, do they send a tow truck to pick it up, or do the cops take it because it's evidence? Do they run? Like, I feel like the car blows up,
and
cops
they run.
Are going to get there before, like, Vince or Leon with the tow truck.
Yeah. But
I feel like it might just be gone.
It might be, or that might have been a place that, like, nobody notices at night.
Mr.
Right?
Nobody notices?
Mr. Nobody notices at night, and they, like, have to go back and pick it up. Because it was in the parking lot of Trans Wings, right? So, like, maybe they just, like, went back the next day and were like, okay, we're gonna tow this car out of here. Or maybe Johnny Tran was a nice guy and, like, towed it to them, like, keep your piece of shit car that I blew up.
I mean, they all have garages. He could have.
Hector could have went to go pick it up. Who knows?
So here's how I noticed that there was a time jump. Because first of all, Leon's there and then Leon's not there.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But the way that they're cutting, like, okay, so they're basically cutting between two things. Like, we eventually then cut to Lance too, but that's sort of the continuation of the first thing. But they're cutting back and forth between what we saw last minute, Brian and crew arriving, gearing up, going to take down Johnny Tran and Lance and everybody, right?
Yes,
so that's half of
it.
And that all takes place over the span of probably 10, 15, 20 minutes, right? It's like them getting there, gearing up, going wherever they need to. They probably geared up near where they're taking people down, right? Or like a central location.
Yeah.
So that's all kind of in like real time. But then intercut with that, which we're led to believe just by the nature of storytelling and visual editing, is like happening at the same time. We have a team working on a car, but the car changes. Leon's there, then he's not there.
Yep.
Letty and Dom both change. Like, Dom has his, like, wife beater on when he brings the Nas canister, and then we cut back to him, and he's
like a button-up shirt.
The mechanics, like, the jumpsuit on.
Yeah.
And Letty has on, like, her gray tank top, and then we cut back to her when she and Dom are making out, and she's got that same tank top on, but she's got, like, another shirt on top of that. And so I don't know if, like, this was two different scenes, like, they had two different scenes, they just cut them all together because they needed, like, more stuff for the montage. I don't know if this is supposed to be, like, a passage of time during the day.
Yeah, they're saying that, like, I think it went from, like, morning to night or 2 different days.
But I just feel like it's clumsy story. Like, it's not bad. Like, ultimately doesn't matter. But I feel like it's clumsy storytelling. It's clumsy editing because this is not how you're supposed to do this kind of thing. Because it's not supposed to be like this takes place over the span of, say, 3 hours, and this is over the span of 20 minutes. Like, if you're cutting back and forth, it's supposed to be kind of just like in the world's longest runway or whatever. It's like, well, how is this runway like 12 miles long? It's like, well, it might not be, because like everything we're seeing is all in theory happening at the same time.
Yes.
So them shooting the harpoons and them on the thing and chasing or whatever, like that's also like, it could be like a third of the duration. Here, when you're going back and forth, it's like this is all happening at the same time, except it's not. And again, doesn't matter, but it's just weird.
It is weird. Yeah, I agree.
I want to talk about the mall, but what else did you notice? Anything in the gearing up or in the garage before we get to the mall where Lance is eating? Anything else that you noticed of cool stuff?
It was like just more more stickers and stuff, and Dom carrying the NOS. But I want to talk about the mall too.
The mall is called the
New Saigon Mall.
New Saigon Mall, yes. And it looks like the only thing open is the food court.
It seems like it, yeah.
Because every store has like the classic mall, like silver fences down.
Yes.
I counted the number of people. There's like 15 people inside and another 9 outside. So there's a bunch of people. It feels like it's a weird maybe time of day for like a food place to be open, unless it's like a dead mall. We think we talked about on here, like dead malls, empty malls, and how that's weird. But it feels like this is kind of like a pop in place for no stores to be open.
Yeah, it's strange. I'm assuming it's more like an Asian grocer, that has mall stalls in it.
Are we led to believe? I guess maybe we don't know. Is this in the same strip mall? Remember you found that strip mall? Is this there or is this somewhere else?
I'm guessing it is. I'm taking a wild guess that this is like Trans Wings East is right outside.
Wings West or Wings East? Because I don't remember. That's a question. That's one I got wrong.
I said East. You said West, and I was right.
Oh, it is Trans Wings East. You're right.
So Trans Wings East is like right outside in the parking lot, and then there's like that strip mall there. I'm assuming that this is part of that. You know what it kind of reminds me of? Remember when I took you to Beard Brewing? The one in Connecticut that's like in this kind of
it's like the bar inside the warehouse?
Yes. It kind of feels like that, didn't it?
So I was also, again, things I would never pay attention to while watching the movie, because this is like a shot of like 3/4 of a second, and then they're cutting and they're cutting and they're cutting and they're cutting back and forth between this scene and outside and Dom and Letty, and it's like you're not supposed to pay attention to like the camera angles and stuff.
Yes.
But like every time they're cutting to a new angle in the food court, it's like it feels like it's in a wildly different place. And I know that it's not, but it's like, okay, this is clearly a mall. You can see the stores. And then there's certain angles where it's like it looks like it's just in the middle of a warehouse. And then you cut around, it's just like in a restaurant. Like it doesn't look like it's in a mall at all. It's just like, oh, it's very weird.
It looked like a school cafeteria to me. Like at some points, like when it turns some places, you're like, what are they doing? Like in this like a Knights of Columbus. Oh, you know what? It says that. It says that on the outside though. It says Little Saigon Blank Citizen Association. I can't read the word in between. So yes, that's why I was getting those vibes too.
Gotcha.
A pool hall, a volunteer fire department. You know what I mean? One of these kind of things.
Yeah. Where we ate at Cheesecake Factory before we saw Hobbs and Shaw.
In the basement of the mall.
That's kind of like, I was just thinking, like, it's weird to have, like, outdoor, quote-unquote, outdoor seating, which we were also making fun of at the Fridays there at the mall. Because we're like, who the fuck cares about outdoor seating in a mall? You're still inside. Like, it's not like you're outside.
And you're also,
inside.
like, looking at them. You're just deeper into the mall without...
Right. But, like, it's weird to me to have, like, outdoor seating, like, that close, I feel, to the exit. Like, maybe not, but it just feels like it's just weird setup. Like, I don't know. What I remember about what you found is this strip mall is, like, this whole, like, Asian cultural center that's, like, restaurants and grocery stores and whatever. And, like, it's very really possibly could just be the setup. But it also feels like, oh, we just have this corner of a warehouse, like...
that's what I thought, too.
Like a garage or something, where it's just like, okay, we can just throw these gates down, like, it looks like enough, like, stores, whatever. We'll throw a couple tables here. It's a weird, like, I just want to zoom out.
Same.
Like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Like, I think it's actually in a mall, but it also could be, like, any number of things that are not a mall.
Yeah, you put up like one little fence to like rope off like the food court, and you could have put this anywhere. And I think that it's shot in a way that it's close enough that they probably did do something to it, because if it was an existing structure, they would have possibly shown you more of it.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's like we're very carefully choosing the angles so that you don't think that we're making a movie, that we're like, oh no, this is like a real restaurant. These are real characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything else of note? I mean, and also before you have the trivia question, I haven't even thought about the trivia question because I haven't, like, there's so many things that I guess it could be.
Okay.
But anything else you want to bring up in this minute?
Click the link that I posted here. Did you click it?
Global food.
I think that sitting on the table in front of Lance is two things. One, we know, definitely Hoi Fong Sriracha, right? Like hot cock in a bottle. We know what it is. It's definitely that. Like little green top, whatever. I think next to it, the other sauce that they're using is Lee Kum Kee Hoisin Sauce. We looked at this bottle. I called over my local condiment expert, Rachel, had her look at it, and she did say that the top of the bottle in the movie is yellow, not red. But I said, look, this is a modern bottle. They might have changed the color of the bottle. I'm unsure. Sure. But does the bottle not look very similar to the one in the Minute?
I'm watching the Minute again right now to see. I also do want to point out, like we did not mention, but like Vin Diesel in ridiculous shape in this scene.
Yeah.
I mean, Letty in great shape too, but like the shirtless is just like, oh yeah, like I get it.
Yeah, he's huge.
Like this is like, again, we've talked about his transformation. Now he's just like, he's almost like a square. You know what I mean? Like he's just so, like he's not out of shape, but he's just like, just thick. Like here he's just like, he's like action star movie cut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the label definitely for sure looks like it.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
Like it's the yellow label, the yellow rectangular label on the red label at the top.
Purple stripe underneath.
The shape of the bottle changed a little bit, but again, that changes over time.
It's similar. It looks similar enough, right?
Yep.
I'm going to go with it's this until somebody can confirm otherwise, so.
Where do you fall on that jacket? Do you want the Vietnam jacket with skulls all over and dragons, or is that not, like...
I don't think I could wear it without culturally appropriating it, but I do find it enjoyable.
Because that's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if this is, like, hideous or, like, cool, like... early 2000s throwback. You know what I mean?
I like it.
It might be too much.
No, I like it. It's like it's tacky in the right 90s kind of way. So I like it in the early 2000s kind of way. I enjoy it visually. I would never have one.
I'm just watching one more time to see if I can pause on the first shot because we see the table in two different shots.
Yeah, but you don't get to see the good shot of the bottle except until the second shot.
Why are they even bothering making the movie?
I know. Cut. Reshoot the scene. I didn't get enough shot at that bottle.
Oh yeah, because from the back. Well. Okay, yeah, from the back, it's hard to tell. They got the two Coca-Cola cups.
Two Coca-Cola cups.
They got the sriracha, probably, right? They got the
Definitely
napkin
sriracha.
container.
It looks like it has chopsticks on the side. The napkin holder looks like it has chopsticks like in the side somehow.
Oh, like on the like as a pattern.
Yeah.
It's like a red and yellow. Yeah.
You see it? Yeah.
And then the other guy that he's with, because we don't know these guys, right? They're
No.
just like family or friends or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because there's the guy with the Vietnam jacket, and there's a guy that has like the fisherman's cap with the gray fire flames on top of it,
awesome.
and then like
Yeah.
a shirt that matches. It looks like a black shirt with like gray fire flames all over it.
Like the Guy Fieri special. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to say about minute 63?
No, I think we did it justice. It's fast. It's so fast, and I'm dreading the next one even. Dreading the next one even more.
So you said you had an idea for what trivia question should be.
Yes. What car does Dom lift Letty up in front of? Or what car is Dom and Letty working on before they make out?
That teeters on, and I know that I'm in the minority here because most people I think know cars, but I feel like that's the kind of thing where it's like you kind of need external knowledge. It's not like they're like, oh, it's the Eclipse.
No. You would know it. The thing is, I was trying to go with the trick that it looks like they're working on the orange car, but Dom and Letty are working on the blue car, and your brain wouldn't remember that. That's the trick that I was going for.
Right.
What kind of car? Not like what car, you know what I mean? Like, and you could do like the Supra, the Eclipse.
I'm just trying to think because there's so many details in this. There's so much that goes on. Like we could do like what is Lance doing while he's arrested? We could do one of the men that Lance is sitting with while he's eating. It can't be the same question. You can't do both these questions, but like while he's eating, has a jacket on. What does his jacket say?
Ooh.
Like, I'm not saying this in place of the car. I just think that the car, because it's not like, I think there's, again, like, this is sort of the West thing where it's like balancing things that are actually, I don't know that people, like I wouldn't know what kind of car that is, right? Like, I don't know that as an
Off the
Eclipse.
top of your head. Yeah, I get it.
I'm not saying that, like, we can't do that question, because I think
I
that
know.
most people who like these movies, like, know those cars, but,
Yeah.
like, it's not like knowing the song where you have to look up on the soundtrack when you get home. Like, you might just be able to eyeball, I mean, it's also, I guess, the same thing. It's like, oh, I know what song this is.
Yep.
I know what car this is.
Yep.
What is the name of the mall?
Does it actually say New Saigon Mall, though?
It says New Saigon Mall, yeah.
Like, fully mall, not just New Saigon?
It looks like it's in, like, a weird kind of font.
Or just, you could do, like, what color is the car that Dom and Letty are working on?
What's the pattern on the side?
No, just what color is it? Because that's the thing. Because it's, like, orange, and everybody would be like, oh, yeah, it's the orange Supra. You'd be like,
Okay.
that's a throwaway one. Black or red.
This is actually a very, very cool sign. Hang on, let me show you the sign. So the mall, the word mall, is styled to look like trees in Vietnam.
Oh, it looks like a little pagoda. Like, it
Right?
like, matches the theme of it. Yeah.
So I think what we can do is we can do your car. I think car color is
Is fair? Is that better?
is easier. Yeah, because I think that even people like, I'm not trying to make it easier for me. I'm just trying to make it easier for people like me. You know what I mean?
That's a good input. I'm okay with it.
What color is the car that Dom and Letty are working on?
Before they make out.
So we could say blue, orange, white, black.
Black? Yeah, that works.
We can sort of reverse engineer it. Do we want the answer to the second question to be New Saigon Mall? Do we want it to be Vietnam? Or do we want it to be eating?
New Saigon Mall or Vietnam.
Or do we want it to have 3 questions? Because there's so much going on here. I feel like we could have set precedent here for 3 different questions.
I'm fine with it.
When the police team arrives to arrest Lance, what word is visible on the jacket of a man he's eating with? And what should these words be? So we have Vietnam.
Trans Wings East.
Okay.
Afflicted. Affliction.
We can say New Saigon. We can say afflicted.
Yeah. Or is it afflicted or affliction? What are the shirts called? They're affliction t-shirts. But do they say affliction? The shirts that, like, the affliction t-shirts, do they say afflicted or affliction?
Oh, they say affliction.
Okay, affliction. Yeah.
Where is the restaurant that Lance is eating at located? Trans Wings Plaza.
Yeah.
New Saigon Mall.
Yeah. What was the other one called? Oh, fuck. From the other minute. What's the thing called before they blow up the car?
From minute 28, they paved paradise, put up statues in a parking lot.
Yeah, what's that
T&K Food Market.
Yes. That is a good fake answer.
New Saigon Mall, T&K Food Market.
What was the golden wing? What was the golden thing from the last minute? Like, the thing that I found that was, like, the identifier for where the cha-cha-cha was?
Oh. Well, what was that? Waz Golden Hen.
Yes, there you go.
I got rid of Trans Wings Plaza, although I kind of like that. I'm gonna add this as a 5th answer. I wanted to add Little Vietnam Mall too.
Oh, okay.
Little Vietnam Mall, New Saigon Mall, T&K Food Market, Trans Wings Plaza, Waz Golden Hen.
Perfect.
Man, this is oh boy.
Those are some tough ones. And
3
I think
questions.
They're fair.
Yes, I'm happy with these. Any other thoughts about this minute, or any other thoughts about anything in this opening segment before we take a break and start talking about De Niro?
No, we did better than I thought we would have with that minute, honestly.
It's all about effort, honestly. It's just like how much time do we actually want to spend? Let me know how many of these questions your friends are getting right.
My one friend already got 2 answers wrong on what color the car is, so that's good. He guessed twice. He goes black, and he's like, no. And he was like, orange. I was like, no.
What color is the car that Dom and Letty are working on before they make out in the garage? That
Blue.
is blue. When the police team arrives to arrest Lance, what word is visible in the jacket of a man he's eating with? Vietnam. Where is the restaurant that Lance is eating located?
Yes.
New Saigon Mall.
God, these are going to get so hard.
63 minutes, 70 questions.
It's so
Cool.
hard. Cool.
All right, let's take a break, and let's come back to talk about Midnight Run.
Back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 96, Midnight Run. This episode's brought to you by Motor Coach Industries. MCI responds to your needs. They've gone over their coaches to make sure that they're better than ever, boosted their parts availability, strengthened their warranties, and examined all the ways they can go the extra mile to serve us better. Thank you, Motor Coach Industries.
So this is Midnight Run kicking off our Robert De Niro week, and so we thought that Midnight Run was a car movie and that Ronan had a car chase. And then I was like, while this was happening, and like, every time I got into a car, I was like, oh, so we got it in reverse. So like, this is the car chase movie, and then the car chase was like cool, but it was over in like 3 minutes. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, and the next one. Okay, cool. Oh, wait, no.
No, they're just in cars a couple times.
It's just a road movie.
It's like a ride along.
So before we get started on this, a couple background things. So this is directed by a guy named Martin Brest, who directed the first Beverly Hills Cop, which, by the way, tomorrow on Third Time's a Charm, Wednesday, June 3rd, Mike is covering Beverly Hills Cop 3. So very
nice. Very appropriate.
So this guy's made like 8 movies. They're all over the place. Food all over the place, movies all over the place. He also did Scent of a Woman, which is a Philip Seymour Hoffman movie that the Hoff Bros covered, that Brian and Kyle covered on their show. That's also the movie that kind of inspired Pacino's Hoo-Ah. That's where he started doing it.
Oh my god, I totally forget Philip Seymour Hoffman's in that movie.
He's not a huge part, but yeah, it's mostly Pacino and whatever, I don't remember who the main actor is. And the other movie of note that this guy made was widely considered. I talked about The Apple earlier being one of the worst movies of all time. This guy also directed Gigli, that Ben Affleck
No
J-Lo
way.
movie that was widely considered to be the worst. There's like a whole subplot involving like a mentally retarded brother that is played like the poorest that has ever been played in any movie ever. Like it's
God.
just awful in every regard. So this
Geely's
guy
bad. Geely's a bad movie that like I don't even love because it's
no, it's not
actually
fun bad.
bad.
It's bad. Yeah.
It's bad.
I just don't know how, and I know it's based on the script, and the guy who wrote this script, Jerry Gallo, also wrote Bad Boys, and he also wrote a Nicolas Cage movie called Trapped in Paradise, which is fun.
Nice.
It's just like a weird kind of comedy, heist comedy, kind of similar, I guess, in tone to this. I mean, it's not as good as this, not nearly as good. I don't know how a director is able to make a movie this good, or as good as Scent of a Woman, and then turn around and make Geely? Like, what the fuck? Like,
I have no idea. Talk about going on the downswing, right?
Seriously. I also do want to say that basically a lot of the trivia is that like almost every actor in Hollywood was considered for like every part. It just feels like they didn't really know who to cast in these roles. And so they wound up with Robert De Niro and they wound up with Charles Grodin. And they're great in this movie.
Oh, they're so good. Yeah, this is definitely a fun one.
So you had seen this before, but you forgot it.
Yeah, I don't remember any of it, and like I remembered like very tiny parts that my father would be like, "Oh, watch this," you know, like things that would happen. And I talked to him this morning about it, and I was like, "Oh, we're gonna watch Midnight Run tonight." And he was so excited, and his take on it was very weird to me after I watched the movie. And he said, all you guys need to do is watch the first 10 minutes of that movie. And if you're not hooked, I don't think you should watch the rest of it.
Oh, I mean, I love the first 10 minutes. Like, from the beginning, I was on board.
Like, I thought that he was telling me there's, like, an awesome car chase in the first 10 minutes. So I'm, like, watching the first 10 minutes to try to see, like, what he was talking about. And, like, it's, like, setting it up really well, right? Like, De Niro keeps getting approached by everyone trying to see, you know, like, to pay him to find this guy. And I was like, okay, cool. What's the part that he's talking about? And then, like, the movie just keeps going. And I was like, okay.
I think the first 10 minutes does, I mean, in your dad's defense, I think the first 10 minutes does a really great job of setting up the tone. Because, so the story of this movie is that this guy who embezzled $15 million from the mob.
But gave it all to charity.
Has skipped bail and is now wanted by the cops.
Yes.
Wanted by the bail bondsman, who's played by Joe Pantoliano, who has the craziest hair I've ever seen him have in any movie in this movie. He's like got his like balding hair and like this long beard and just like weird long hair, and like it's a sight to behold. He was on The Sopranos, but he's also probably best known for being Cypher in The Matrix.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say, the guy from The Matrix, yeah.
That's what I know him from. That's where, you know, he's great in that.
Yeah.
So he wants it because he's going to be out like $450,000 if this guy doesn't come back. And he's also wanted by the mob, who is pissed that he stole $15 million.
Yes.
And so Robert De Niro plays a bounty, and this guy's played like Charles Grodin. So Robert De Niro plays like a bounty hunter, and he is tasked by Joey Pants to go find this guy, bring him back. In the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, he's like, cool, got him. And then like, they get on a plane, and he's like, yeah, I'll be back there in like 3 hours. And like, wait, already? Like, what? It goes from one thing to another that the guy's afraid to fly, but it turns out later that he's a pilot. And then they get on a bus, they get in a car, and there's all this, you know, everything. It's basically Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, that John Candy movie where they're trying to get home for Thanksgiving, right? But it's like, instead of just being a pure comedy, it's like an action comedy, and it's wonderful. Like, it's so much fun. Again, doesn't fit for this podcast, but like, I loved it.
I love it. And I really missed these movies that have like the playful banter of like a What About Bob? And like this like introspection of like the two characters like sussing each other out, because I think that some of the best parts of this movie are De Niro and Grodin like talking to each other, and Grodin being like, why don't you want to go see your family, and like, we should really stop off and see your ex-wife. And it's like, no dude, he's like your fucking bounty hunter that's like arresting you, and you're like, we should really go visit your ex-wife, like you seem like you're kind of tense about this. Like,
and what I love about this, like in a similar but not exactly the same way, but in a similar way, is that like it feels like certain characters are in a comedy and other people. So like at one point, there's the FBI agent who like almost arrests De Niro, right? And De Niro winds up, or he roughs De Niro up or whatever. He wants to question him. And De Niro winds up with the guy's badge, right?
Yeah.
So he's on a plane to New York, and he takes a picture of himself and he glues it over the badge, and he shows the kid next to him. The kid's like, oh, like this like 6-year-old kid. She's like, yeah, it looks good to me. And so he's just got this badge all movie. At one point, we are in like a police station somewhere, and they're like, yeah, he's got his, you know, Agent Mosley badge. Like, you know, we heard reports that Agent Mosley was there. Agent Mosley, the FBI agent who lost his badge, is like this, like, all business, no nonsense, just mean, great at his job FBI agent, and he's just like basically like, oh, we know where he is, and this guy next to him just like, oh, so I guess he's got your credentials, and he just like turns and looks like, you fucking think? Like, what? Like, who? Duh. Yeah, of course he does. But just, like, I love that there's, like, the humor is blended in so well that this guy is, like, he's basically he's a comic character, and the FBI agent is just like, I can't, I'm getting too old for this shit, basically. I can't deal with this. It's so beautifully blended, I think, the comedy and the actual, it's not the best action movie of all time, but there's good action, there's good car chases, and the blend of both is really good.
Yeah, I like this movie a lot.
Yeah.
It made me laugh. It made me laugh more than I thought it would, and Rachel really enjoyed it, too.
Depending on the movie that we're watching, sometimes you watch, while you're doing other things, or watch at work, or whatever, and I was like, no, this is one that, like, you should want to enjoy. It's kind of, I didn't warn you for the Italian Job, really, but it's like, it's the one to sit on the couch and like actually savor, because like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Also, if you want to watch this, it is available on Cinemax, Max Go. I will plug another very tiny streaming thing. I think you could probably get it for like a 7-day trial on Prime if you want to do it and like cancel it immediately and watch it. But it's worth, like, if you have to pay a couple bucks to rent it or whatever, like, it's a lot of fun.
We talk about how high the stakes have gotten in Fast and the Furious.
Yep.
You know what I wish we had more of in Fast and the Furious right now, and we never really got? Is a lot of pickpocketing. Like, do we ever get a pickpocket in Fast and the Furious?
Well, we kind of get a reverse pickpocket where, like,
what?
They get the handprint on Giselle's butt. Like, that's
that's what I thought. That's like as close as you can get.
It does feel like if we had a pickpocket, it would be Han and or Giselle, right?
Yeah, but like we don't even see like one where like we got his badge. Even like Twinkie. Right, to be like, ha ha ha, look what I got. You know what I mean? Like, we needed this.
I feel like there might be something obvious that we're missing, but I can't think of any right now, and I feel like it's kind of low level.
My brain.
What was the movie? I think it was a movie that I was watching. Oh, it was Jack Reacher 2, where Tom Cruise and Kobe Smulders team up with this girl that, like, Tom Cruise is told is his daughter, and they travel down to New Orleans to get this guy back. And, like, it turns out that, like, everybody in the movie and everybody in the city is, like, an A-plus pickpocket, because, like, they're all like, oh, there's a mark, and they're all, like, picking each other's pockets. I'm like, this is too much. Like, why is everybody good at this? Like, it feels like, don't do this. But on the other hand, like, it's like it feels like in some movie, in the first movie or whatever, like Leon, to your point, Leon or Vince or somebody bumps Brian, gets his real wallet, and it's like Brian O'Connor. Like, that's not, like, who the fuck is this guy, right? Like, it feels like you could have done that too, but I don't know.
No, we don't though. We've been clamoring for this. Like, we don't get any like real low level crimes anymore, and like that's one that I'm like, why not, man? Just like pickpocketing, like it would be so useful in so many of these movies. Like even like Hobbs and Shaw, right? Like if like Shaw would have like stolen something from Hobbs, it's like, oh, this is his like something to get in anything.
It does feel like when they're at the airport, right? And also, by the way, airports so wildly different in 1988.
Oh God, I know.
Just smoking at the counter, they're like smoking or non-smoking. He's like, what do you think? Take a guess. And then like he just basically pulls, I know it's a movie, but like pulls out a pistol basically in front of the employee. Also, by the way, that employee behind the counter there is the director. That's Martin Brest, which is
that's cool.
But he like pulls out a gun and like there's just like this whole like showdown, like the shootout essentially in the airport, and like it's just chaos. It's like, oh yeah, pre 9/11, wildly different time.
Yeah, we could have done whatever we wanted. Every time I see an airport in a movie from like a long time ago, I'm like, what the fuck is happening here?
Right. We also don't have a lot of airports, but like the reason I brought that up was because in Hobbs and Shaw, when they all have the like Hugh Janus and everything like that, remember, or Mike Hawksmall or whatever. Yeah. Like it feels like that could be a scene too where they have to get through security by like a bump in a lift or whatever, but no.
Nope. Never do it.
I do think that a lot of the police skills and traits that Brian picked up, he almost learned from De Niro in this movie.
So, this is something else I want to talk about. Definitively, De Niro is a good cop in this film.
So his character story, right, is that he was a good cop, he was a clean cop.
Super clean.
And the mafia
in Chicago.
boss, played by Dennis Farina, who is amazing. He plays Jennifer Lopez's father in Out of Sight, which is a perfect movie and one of my all-time favorite movies.
He's in Snatch. We just watched Snatch. I told you I watched Snatch with Rachel. He's the jeweler in there. Yeah.
He's so good. He's so good in this movie. Like, he's got this, like, charm and he's funny, and then like he flips his switch and he's just like the meanest
evil
motherfucker you'll ever want to cross, and like he's so good. He was so good. This guy rose to prominence in Chicago and basically seemingly bought off the entire police force, right? And De Niro wouldn't take a payoff, so he quit.
Well, he pushed him out. He planted drugs on him. He's like, look, you're either going to go to jail, you're going to leave, or you're just going to take the payoff, get on the payroll, and let me do what I want. And he's like, well, then I leave. So.
And so he becomes this kind of it seems like that was also kind of the beginning of the end of his marriage, because he gets to his ex-wife and whatever, and his life fell apart because he was an upstanding guy. What that has led to is all these kind of small-time crook things where he's stealing cars and doing this and doing that and letting criminals by the end of the movie, spoiler alert, he lets Charles Grodin go. I was like, classic Brian move. You just see
Brian.
Stockholm syndrome, falls in love to a certain degree with his captor, with his prisoner.
Yep.
Here you go. And then that's when he gives him $300,000 in $1,000 bills. I was like, when did they go out of circulation? Because it was crazy. That was the wildest thing to see in this movie.
Okay, that's actually really funny. My father loves this movie, and my father also collects old money, and one of his his favorite prized possessions is he has $1,000 bill, and they were never in circulation. They were used as banknotes.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when a bank would transfer money to another bank, they would send $1,000 bills so that you wouldn't have to have racks of hundreds, right? It's makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, because Charles Grodin has been wearing essentially a belt. It's a Velcro thing that's kind of like a fanny pack, but it could basically be confused with a belt, right?
Yep.
It's say 6 loops or something, and each loop is not thick. It probably has 10 or 15 bills. And I'm like, this can't be a lot of money, but each bill is $1,000. He's like, yeah, it's $300K in there. I'm like, what the how? Okay, sure.
Yeah, those are real. Yeah, you can definitely do that. It's funny now that they're all the $1,000 bills are now worth $1,500.
I always tried to when I was little, I had $2 bills, and I was like, hey, these are out of print, Dad. You want to buy one for me for $3? He's like, no, I gave you that $2 bill. Why would I want to buy it back? Always trying to wheel and deal.
Squeezing your dad for a couple extra bucks.
I do feel also in terms of the Brian De Niro thing,
Go ahead.
It almost feels like his skills and the way that he handles police work almost feels like he started as a bounty hunter and then became a cop. Kind of the inverse of De Niro. It just feels like he's got a lot of kind of not dirty tricks, but ways to get by without necessarily being within full jurisdiction of the law.
I feel like that's kind of a normal cop trait, though. There are plenty of very good cops. By the book, good cops. I'm not saying that cops are necessarily all bad, but I feel like a lot of the times, if you're so close to something, you know how to play both ends of it. I can see that a lot of cops know kind of tricks like this. I wouldn't put it past anyone that is a cop to know which side of the laws they can be on in a lot of these situations.
Yeah. Has Brian ever handcuffed himself to someone?
This is another thing I was thinking about, too. We never get Hobbs handcuffing himself to Dom or anyone. You know what I mean? Why? Why not?
There was a bit of trivia. Where was it? So Charles Grodin has permanent scars resulting from the real handcuffs he had to wear for a great deal of the film. Even though they had rubber and plastic handcuffs, De Niro, ever the method actor, encouraged Grodin to wear the steel ones in most scenes. De Niro seems like kind of an asshole in that story.
I don't think it's an asshole. I think that he was trying to go for realism, so that they didn't look fake, so that they didn't, feel fake to him, and for him to stay in character, but at the same time, he has permanent scars on his wrist now. That's horrible. Yeah. Damn, he bled for this movie. His blood, sweat, and tears are in this movie.
Do we have people wearing a wire at all in the Fast and Furious?
No.
Again, it's a staple of the cop movie where it's you got to wear a wire. There's literally a TV show named The Wire, right? It's a different kind of wire, but it's the same kind of surveillance, whatever. But it feels could have been.
Yeah, no, we don't get a wire. Do we even get phone taps in Fast and Furious?
We have God's Eye, which is kind of adjacent. It's
but low level stuff.
The family doesn't really use phones, right? Really.
Oh, that's right, because they're always together, yeah.
It does feel like phone tapping, they might have tapped Carter Verone's phone, possibly?
I think they mentioned wiretaps. I think even Tanner and Bilkins mentioned wiretaps, but I don't think that they talked to anybody on the phone, so it doesn't really matter.
Maybe did they tap Johnny Tran's phone?
Oh, yeah. I think so.
If it's mentioned, if it's in there, it's not a key plot point.
No, definitely not.
It's more just hey, here's cop stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go get those taps.
De Niro loves punching guys in the face. I was he's clearly a Brian because Brian, punches Stasiak, and I was also thinking just classic bonk situations.
Classic bonk situations. I was watching a Lifetime movie today. Right now they're running Fierce Women Wednesdays. We're recording on a Wednesday. This woman bonked a man with a vase, with a tea kettle, and she was doing straight face bonks, like not side of the head bonks, like she was hitting him like straight in the nose. He never died. She hit him with a shovel at the end. There was 3 bonks in a row. It was good.
That's pretty fierce. Speaking of bonks, a full body bonk that I've never seen in a movie, I don't think, is they do twice in this movie, is the drive-by car door bonk.
Oh, god damn it, I have this in my notes.
It's so cool.
I know, and I'm surprised that we don't get that in Fast and the Furious 2.
In literally anything.
Oh, I know.
When they're running toward, there's a guy in a car driving toward a perp, and like to knock him down, they'll just open the car door into him.
Yeah.
And so I think De Niro does that in the beginning of the movie, and then De Niro gets it done to him by the other bounty hunter that Joey Pants sends to get him, because he's like, basically it's like, Robert De Niro went rogue. We need you to get him. I'm going to pay you a quarter of your, like, you don't know, I'm going to pay you a quarter of what I'm going to be paying him. Go take care of it. And then so he does, at the end, he bonks De Niro with the car door.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, coming up at the end scene here, does Dom or Brian take one of Tran's guys in a motorcycle out with the car door? I can't remember if that's true or not, or if I'm just like harboring it from this movie. Do you remember?
I mean, we'll find out soon. I feel like it could be that. It also feels like something. I don't know when it would have happened, but it also feels like something that Roman or Brian could have done in 2. But I don't know that when that would have happened. They do use a car door. Remember, like, Roman's surfing on the car door. So, like, that's not the same thing, but they use a car door in a different way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Oh, speaking of, so in the opening, Wes wrote in about titular line guy. We do get the titular line in this movie.
We do when Pants is on the phone, right?
He's like, it's an easy gig. It's a midnight run, for Christ's sake. Which I Googled, and it's just like when somebody leaves in the middle of the night. It's just like, I think they're like ill prepared to be on the lam, right? It's just like, I'm getting out of here. Like, I'm gone.
Oh yeah, he does it. No prep, no skills, no money. Like, he's just running.
Which is true because he catches him in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I liked it. So one of my favorite parts was he catches him in 5 minutes, and he climbs through the bathroom window, and he's like, FBI, and it's like, that's not how this works. Like, he would have known, like, from the first, I would have been like, you're fucking kidding me. Like, no FBI comes through the bathroom window alone.
No, he breaks in through the main door, and he sneaks upstairs when the dog sees him and chases him into the bathroom, and so then he's hiding in the shower behind the glass shower door.
Yeah.
And he's like, get this dog out of here or I'll shoot the dog, and the wife gets the dog out of here. He's like, you're arrested. And so it's weird. It's just like, oh, like, you're very clearly not an FBI agent.
Yeah, he goes, I'm whatever, Arthur Mosley from the FBI. I'm here to take you in. And it's like, no, you could have been like, I'm the bounty hunter. Like, it doesn't matter. You already got him, right? Like, you're like, I got a gun at him.
I don't have any context to this, but I feel like one of the most realistic things about this movie is that when he's trying to buy the train tickets, and he says to the woman, like, Special Agent Jack Clark or whatever, and she's like, that's not what the badge says. She's like, you want me to call the cops or you want to pay me in cash? Like, it's like, she's seen way worse than this. Just like people lying, like liars, cheats, and thieves, right? And just like, I don't want any trouble. Just like, pay me or get out of here. Like, just what are you doing?
But he does kind of fumble at first, and he's like, my name's like Arthur. I mean, and I was like, oh man, like, why wouldn't you have reshot that? To not make him fumble it and to say Jack confidently?
Yeah, it felt out of character because he was so confident. He knew like, he doesn't seem bad at his job. And I don't know why he's like stressed out there. I mean, I know that the stresses are getting to him. Like, there's a deadline. He's got to get back by Friday at midnight. But it feels like a weird kind of convenient thing. But I did like, it made up for it by her reaction. Just like, guy, like, what are you doing? Like, just she calls him out on his bullshit.
Yep. I agree.
Also, speaking of Friday by Midnight, De Niro is kind of the...
Yes, say it.
He had the watch. He was always late. He used to have nothing but time. Oh. But now he's, got to get there by Friday at midnight.
Which reminded me a lot of Vanishing Point, right?
Yeah.
Got to get there
I also
Friday.
do want to say there's a bit of trivia that the whole, like, backstory about him, like, the watch and, like, him tapping the watch and everything, apparently that was improvised by De Niro. Like, that wasn't in the script. So I think it was kind of a cool, character quirk, character tick.
Oh, he just, like, made him constantly wind his watch and tap the watch?
I think so, yeah. That's what IMDb says, at least.
What if they just gave him, like, a really shitty watch and then he just, like, wrote that last line in? Like, he had, like, some, like, fake, like, costume jewelry watch. And he keeps like, what the fuck is this watch doing? And he keeps like tapping it. And then like eventually they get to the end. He's like, it's the first thing my ex-wife ever gave me. And you're like, whoa.
I never understood that whole, like, my grandma gave me this watch because I was always half an hour late, and so she set it half an hour early, so I'd always be there on time. At some point, you're going to be like, it's not like the only things in your life that revolve around time are, like, family functions. At some point, you're going to be like, oh, this watch is off, and even if you don't, like, change, you're either going to fix the watch, or, like, you're going to be like, oh, no, I actually have an extra half an hour.
Isn't it you who has your car, clock, like, 5 minutes fast, and you're like, oh, but it's 5 minutes fast? I remember getting into someone's car, and I thought it was you, and you were like, I'm like, oh, dude, like, oh, shit, like, we're going to be a little bit there. And you're like, oh, no. But
maybe? I know, like, the only thing that I can think that I manually, like, I set incorrect is the clock by my TV. I want to make sure that's, like, a minute or two fast, because I want to make sure that, like, oh, it's 8 o'clock, like, my TV show is about to start. Like, now DVR doesn't mean anything, but, like, it used to be like, oh, I want to make sure that, like, when it says 8 o'clock, I know I need to be done with whatever. Like, I need to stop playing the video
This
game.
is such a weird concept to me. Just fix your brain. This is the whole, like, universal time thing.
Because I feel like when it's like, oh, 7:59, I got time. It's like 8 o'clock. Shit, I'm late. It's just like the whole. Also, this is like Back to the Future. Like, oh, you know,
True.
You lost the time. It's like, oh, I'm late.
Yeah, I set all my clocks to exactly the precise time.
Which I think is how I do it now. I mean, also, almost all the clocks in my house are like ALEXA clocks, or like bad, or like, you know, synced to like the world clock or something,
Digital.
right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't even set the clocks anymore.
I still have like my stove, my microwave. I think like my microwave is like the clock that I use the most.
Yeah, I mean, I have those, but I don't know that I need the clocks on those, because
and your phone. Yeah, your phone, right? Like, you can't set your phone 5 minutes ahead.
And I have the Apple Watch on my wrist. Like, I don't need to know. Like, I don't need the stove to have a time. I mean, it does. I don't need it anymore, because I always have at least one clock on me.
Yep.
Two things in this that made me think of other things. At one point, they keep saying in this movie, "You son of a bitch," and I was just thinking, because I messaged you last night, because I'm catching up. I only have 2 more episodes of Rick and Morty. I'm almost caught up. The episode, the heist, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Morty, when they're just like, "You son of a bitch, I'm in." And like, I watched that, and then I watched this. I'm like, there's a lot of sons of bitches tonight. They're all over the place.
I didn't connect it. You told me you were watching the Rick and Morty, and I was like, oh, that's a really classic line.
I messaged you when I was watching that episode, and then I watched the movie, and I was just like, oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah, and I didn't get it until now. But yes, watching this movie, it was like, you son of a bitch, like all over the place. I feel like we don't say son of a bitch as much anymore. It's just bitches. You're just bitches. We cut it.
I think people, and again, this is getting into semantics that, like, we probably shouldn't even go down this rabbit hole, but I feel like bitches is, like, condescending and kind of sexist, but I feel like son of a bitch is, like,
SOBs.
Son of a bitch, I'm in.
Son of a bitch, I'm in.
Did you watch McMillions? I don't remember.
Yes, I did.
In one diner scene when they're eating and they have, like, the 53-cent coffee, the 53-cent tea, right before they're going to get the wire from the Western Union, right?
Yep.
And De Niro's drinking his coffee, and he pours so much sugar in, and, like, I think a lot of characters in a lot of movies.
Okay.
It's a crazy amount of sugar for a cup of coffee, but it's not like egregious. If you'll remember, the thing that I will remember most about McMillions is they go to a drive-thru and they both order coffee, 10 cream, 5 sugar. And I was like, what kind of monster? I drink coffee black. Like, I only drink iced coffee and I only drink it black. Like, that's
funny.
So, like, 10 cream, 5 sugar is a crazy, crazy order.
It's funny you said this, because I think you've said it before, and I didn't think about it. Rachel has never tried Coffee Mate original flavor, okay?
Really? What has she had?
She's had, like, the French vanilla or, like, the hazelnut and stuff like that. I'm like, but have you ever had, like, just Coffee Mate? And she was like, no. And I was like, whoa, okay. So we went and bought Coffee Mate when we were at the store on, like, last Thursday, because I was like, I wanted her just to try it, because I'm like, it's not cream flavored. Like, it has its own distinct flavor, like, even for the original, right? Have you ever had it?
I've never had Coffee Mate, no.
Okay. Oh, god damn it, you too.
Like, I only started drinking coffee, like, maybe 2 years ago, and I still don't drink it a lot, and I only drink black coffee.
That's fair. I like black coffee, but if you're drinking hot coffee, and, like, you have, like, the Coffee Mate powdered creamer, you just have to try it, because it's its own flavor. It's like a flavor that doesn't exist in the universe, right? Like, it's like, it kind of tastes like cream, but it also tastes like milk sugars for some reason. It's, like, just weird. It's just not natural. I got it for her, and, like, I made coffee this weekend. She tried it, and she was like, oh, yeah, this is very different and interesting. And I was saying, like, oh, I love Coffee Mate, but and she's like, but you usually drink your coffee black. And I was thinking, yes, I always drink hot coffee black, but if I drink iced coffee, I always put cream in it. And that's funny, which is, like, the opposite of you. You're like, you only like iced coffee and you like it black. I always like cream in my iced coffee.
One of the things I remember most about Weeds, and I feel like I've been wanting to rewatch at least the first 3 seasons of Weeds.
Yeah.
Nancy Botwin, Mary Louise Parker is always sipping on, like, a very, very heavily creamed and sugared iced coffee from, like, Dunkin' or something. Just, like, she always has an iced coffee. And, like, that was, like, the first time I was like, oh, I guess this is the thing that, like, people do. Like, I just,
Some people do, yeah.
Because my parents never did, so, like, it was never in my world, you know what I mean? So.
I mean, my grandma drank nothing but black coffee like, I've never seen the woman drink a cup of water. Like, she drank nothing but black coffee all day, every day. That was it. Like, no booze, no water, just black coffee.
There is one of my all-time favorite movie interactions in this movie. Do you know, is there a certain moment, a certain comedic exchange that you can think of.
If I had to guess, it would have been when they're on the train eating.
No, I like that.
Okay.
Where he's just like, why do you do that? Like the cognitive dissonance or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, you're doing something that's bad for you, and you keep doing it. Why would you ever do that? And he's like, didn't you steal money from a mobster and like run away? And he's like, why would you ever do
Point
that?
taken or whatever. Yep.
Yeah.
Understood. There's the scene where they go to that like dive bar.
Yes,
in Texas.
Rachel loved this scene too. Go ahead.
And they have like the litmus configuration. This is when Charles Grodin's just like, look, I got it. Like, let me handle.
They're hungry. They're hungry. They have no money. Grodin's like, look, I can get us a meal tonight. And he's like, what are you gonna do? And he's like, come with me. You need to uncuff me.
And he gives them the badge, and he pretends he's the badge. And he's like, look, we got this whole scam going on. They're doing fraudulent $20 bills. He's like, use the pencil, like, don't touch it, put on a glove, whatever. And they do the litmus configuration where he's just like erasing the middle, and like nothing's happening.
No,
but then
he's not doing anything.
They're like, who was the last guy who came in here?
Would you describe exactly what the last man who passed a $20 bill to you looked like?
30, tall,
About 6 feet tall?
6'5",
Dark brown hair.
light colored.
Sounds like our man.
That's him.
We're gonna have to take these bills for evidence.
But it's just like everything swing and a miss. It's like basically, you're describing Brian, and it's like Hobbs. It's like, oh yeah, no, that's totally our guy.
Yeah, exactly. I loved it. I really liked it. And he's like, has any strange guys come in from out of town or in here? And he's like, no, nobody. And it's like, these are strange guys from out of town. Like, that's the best part about it. They're like, no, we haven't seen anybody weird in here lately. He's like, okay, good. And it's like, that's a really, really funny part of this. And it had a very My Cousin Vinny kind of feel to it, right?
Yeah.
In a different way, but in a similar way, it reminded me of when he comes into the jail and he's like, you owe me one. Like, he thinks he's like trying to fuck him in the jail.
You should be bending over backwards for me.
Yeah, exactly.
This movie also has a couple things that we've been noticing over and over and over again in the movies we're watching. There's the cop chase through kind of the desert where all the cars eventually wind up crashing. That's right before De Niro gets bonked by the other bounty hunter.
Yep.
I don't think a cop car goes into water here, which is surprising considering that they jump into water.
Yeah.
They should have. But like all these cop cars are just like crashing one at a time, like as they're all going over these like little cliffs, these little hills, and like none of them land right. And even like De Niro crashes his car into a tree and they have to get on foot. And so they try to flag down this car, and that winds up being the other bounty hunter. But I was like, oh, that's something we've seen where it's like the systematic takeout of like one cop car after another. Like that's gone in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
That's everything they're doing. It's just like one after another, slowly but surely. But there's also what we saw in Dirty Mary Crazy Larry, at least, there's some helicopter action in this.
I know. I was waiting to talk about this.
There's also, in terms of Furious 7...
7, yep.
There's an exploding helicopter.
There
when
is.
De Niro shoots it, but like instead of shooting like a bag of grenades, he shoots the rear rotor, and then that like spins and just like explodes into a cliff in like an amazing explosion, like almost even better than the explosions we saw in the Italian Job.
One of the best helicopter explosions ever. I looked up at the screen when we were watching that part and I said, Rachel, fuck helicopters. Anything that could be taken down with a couple gunshots to like one little piece of it, no way. Not for me.
It seems like it shouldn't, like it, I don't know. I don't know how helicopters work. It seems like it shouldn't do what it did.
Yeah, the tail rotor keeps the helicopter from spinning.
It keeps it balanced, right? Yeah, so...
Like, the top one lifts it up, and the rear one keeps it going in one direction.
I was like, oh shit, did they just wipe out the Mafia guys? And it's like, no, we just hired... Like the next scene, like, oh yeah, we hired them through a guy through Kansas City or whatever, so like, you're clear. I was like, oh. Like, it felt like it was like lower stakes. Like, I thought the Mafia was in the helicopter. It was like, no, it's just like helicopter assassins hired by the Mafia. I was like, oh, okay. But I was glad that the Mafia guys stuck around, because that meant we had more Dennis Farina, we got Philip Baker Hall, like, it was just like this whole like continuation, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Other than, I think, maybe all of them, which family member do you think would be the best bounty hunter? Because the answer could kind of be all of them, right? Because they all kind of could be.
It could kind of be all of them, but my one true answer is Hobbs, is the real bounty hunter, right?
Yeah.
Like, for pure bounty hunterness, go get your guy. He's going to bring him in. It's Hobbs. Dom has a good shot, but he's also too morally ambiguous, right? I don't think that he's, like, as purely natural good as Hobbs is.
I mean, I guess to that point, and it's a similar kind of morally ambiguous or even more evil, but like the next movie we're going to watch, not Ronin on Friday, but the next movie we're watching, Fate of the Furious, they bring in Shaw because he found Dom. Like, he found everybody too. And he's on the other end of the spectrum from Hobbs, but again, he's like one of the best, hunters in the world, right?
Exactly. I think Shaw's a good answer. I think in the order it'd have to be Hobbs, then Shaw, then Brian, then Dom. But Dom needs a team, too. And I don't think Hobbs, Shaw, or Brian really need a team, especially Shaw.
I would put ahead of Brian, I would put Giselle.
I don't think we have enough evidence for it, but I wouldn't argue against it because, like, based on her skill set, yeah, she's probably way high up there.
Because wasn't she, like, really high up in the Israeli military? Like, I feel like she just has the connections and the skills and the expertise.
Driving abilities, yeah.
So if we have, like, Hobbs, then Shaw, then, like, Brian and Giselle-ish, then Dom, and maybe even above Dom might be Han. And I think just, like, the chameleon, he could blend in anywhere, he could find whatever. Like, even separating out, like, the Ramses and the Tejas and Chippers of the world where they're, like, they can just find people via computer. I feel like if you need, like, a bloodhound to go out and find someone who's off the grid, I think Han is as qualified probably as Dom. Maybe.
I think so, too. That's fair.
But also, the other answer is just, like, everybody. Everybody could do it.
Yeah, and also God's Eye. I was talking if we didn't have God's Eye to, like, spy on every camera ever at this point. If you need to go get your guy, first person you call is Hobbs.
Yeah,
and then,
for sure.
And then Shaw, like, as a close second, but, like, he's on the wrong side of the law, so...
I also feel like, and we also don't know enough about her, but I feel like Hattie would probably, like, one more movie with Hattie, and she would rocket up that list.
Yeah, Madam M, too. The criminals that are, like, international kind of criminals, for sure, could go up that list. Brixton is a great call, you know?
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other notes, any other thoughts that you took, or any other points you want to make about the movie before we do a little bits of trivia?
I love this movie. And I was taken out of it at one point. Like I said, I had a little bit of a qualm with him saying, like, oh, my name's Arthur, Jack, and messing up the name thing. But the part that really got me was this guy steals $15 million from the mob. He said that he was just a normal accountant in a normal accountant firm, didn't know that he was doing mob things. But they know who he is. When he meets him, he goes, oh, you're the accountant. Like, you didn't know who the fuck your accountant was? How many accountants do you have that are, like, handling all of your dirty money? Like, you would have, like, one dirty accountant. I thought that that's what they were saying. Even if he was, like, a clean accountant, he, like, flipped at some point and was, like, the mob's accountant, right? But he's like, oh, you're the accountant. Like, you've never seen this man before? Who's touching your money? That's not how any of this works.
Like, I can see, in a certain extent, like, it's all under the premise of, like, no loose ends, right? Like, it just, you either need to have them firmly under your fingernail or, like, far enough removed that, like, you kind of don't know, face in the dark, doing arbitrary work. I can kind of see either way, but I do think that your point is fair. Like, it should be like, oh, yeah, like, my best friend, my cousin, my accountant or whatever, right? It just feels, oh, you.
But he has his lawyer with him all the time, right? Don't you think that, like, his accountant, he would have, like, at least known who this guy was? Like, if you're going to trust him to handle your money to do dirty shit with, you're going to know who this accountant is. And even if he's clean, you're going to know who this guy is and be like...
Right. Either I didn't hear that line or it didn't bother me, and, like, I don't know that it would on second... I mean, it might... I must not have heard it, or I must not have paid attention.
It's a mild thing, but I was just like, how are you going to pretend like this is the first time these two dudes met, and why did you need to say that when you could have been like, here we are again? You know what I mean? Like, it could have been anything else. It was just a dumb line.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? Any other notes?
No, I really enjoy when movies go through Grand Central. That was my last note. I always like it because we go through Grand Central. You've gone through Grand Central, I'm sure, right?
Once. No, twice.
Oh, damn. Okay, so for us...
It's very rare, because, like, most of the time... Well, actually, no. Hold on. Have I? I don't know if I ever have.
You go to Penn Station?
Yeah, so Penn Station, but, like, even, I was thinking when I took work trips down to D.C., like, that is all Acela from Penn Station. That's not from... I don't know that I've ever been to Grand Central.
Oh, really? Because, like, that's how Rachel and I get home. It's, like, Grand Central to New Haven. Like... that line. Every time we go through Grand Central, it's always funny to me that, like, I've been there quite a few, like, not every day, but, like, I've been through it quite a few times now.
Right.
When I see it in a movie, I'm always like, that's funny. Like, I've been right there. Like, I know Grand Central.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I don't know that I ever have been, which is crazy because I grew up basically an hour.
Yeah.
I've most of my life, 31 of my, how old am I? 32? 30 of my 32 years, I've been within an hour of Grand Central and I've never been there. But yeah, I mean, I've seen it in movies a bunch, right? So
exactly. That's why it's cool to me because it's like, I didn't grow up near it, but then I started like having to actually use it.
Right.
And it's like the route to get home. Like, it's not like I choose to go there. It's like, it goes Grand Central to New Haven. So
I think a lot of the, like, if you take a bus into the city, like, there's a lot of, like, when you go on, like, Amtrak or whatever, NJ Transit.
No, those all go to Penn. The buses all go to Penn, yeah.
Maybe.
Grand Central's just trains, dude.
Okay, then I don't know. I guess not.
Weird.
I've never taken a bus into the city. Like, that's not, like, a thing that I've done. But I was just trying to think, like, I feel like I've seen Grand Central on things, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, all the buses leave from Penn, because that's how we get to where the Jets and Giants play.
Okay, makes sense.
Because you take Grand Central, then you walk to Penn, and you catch the bus at Penn.
Originally, Paramount Pictures owned the rights to this movie, and they wanted a big-name star to appear opposite De Niro to make bring more attention to it.
Interesting.
And so their idea was to change John Mardukas, the Duke, that's a Charles Grodin character, change him to a woman, and have it be played by Cher, given her recent box office success by The Witches of Eastwick, Suspect, and Moonstruck. Which,
yuck.
by the way, no, not yuck. Moonstruck, another perfect movie. Watch Moonstruck. It is the greatest movie. It's a top 3 Nicolas Cage movie. Cher is amazing in it.
I like Cher, and I like Cher as an actress. I'm just saying, like, some of the dynamic would be lost, but now that I'm thinking about it, Cher's charismatic. She could play this introspective character. My brain doesn't like it right now because I've never seen it.
They said they wanted to cast her so they could have sexual overtones.
No.
But the director rejected the gender switch idea, so Paramount said he should give it to Robin Williams, who just came off a big hit with Good Morning Vietnam. Robin Williams read and liked the script and agreed to audition, but in the meantime, Martin Brest auditioned the less famous Charles Grodin and liked his interactions with De Niro, and so he cast Grodin without auditioning Williams, and then Paramount was basically like, fuck this, we're out, and they sold it to Universal.
Wow, that's a wild story. I mean, I think Robin Williams would have been great in this, but I think he would have been maybe a little too quirky.
He could play grounded. He can play... Yeah. When he plays grounded, when he played grounded, I think he was really interesting, but I feel like I don't need him doing voices in this movie.
Nope. Yeah, I don't need goofy voices in this movie. Exactly.
Because I think Charles Grodin kind of as the straight man, because not that De Niro is like the funny guy, like they're both kind of a different version of the straight man, but like him playing the compassionate, just like, I'm just an accountant. Like I know that I'm a criminal, but like I'm not a bad guy or whatever.
And he's trying to do more. He's ultimately trying to do morally good, right?
Right. So De Niro, after he did The Untouchables, he wanted to do a more of a comedy type thing. Coincidentally for me and Mike, for Hanks for the Memories, our Tom Hanks podcast, he wanted to play the lead in Penny Marshall's Big, the Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah.
But the studio didn't want De Niro to play that role. He was then offered this movie, which he liked and agreed to make. So I just think of a weird kind of sliding doors. Like instead of this, he would have been in Big. But I think like Tom Hanks is like... That's one of his like most iconic roles, yeah. So
De Niro looks young here, but part of the charm of Big is that Tom Hanks has such a baby face in the movie, right?
I also think I was thinking about that because I was like, De Niro does look so young, but I think it's only because he's still acting and he just looks so old now, especially like in The Irishman, right? Where he's aged up and aged down. It's like, oh no, he's an old man. He's 80 or whatever, right? Like he's an old dude, and here he's like 45 or whatever, right? And like he's not young. But he's not old. Like that's basically it evens out.
It's weird, man.
So this is kind of funny. So in his autobiography, Charles Grodin wrote that De Niro prepared for this role by going on actual drug busts with detectives. He befriended an LA homicide detective who kept him regularly informed on the murder rate and traveled to Chicago to work with police there. Meanwhile, Charles Grodin just called his business manager once to ask how they transfer millions of dollars if they'd embezzled it. He's just like, I got it. Like De Niro's like, I did all this work, I'm making sure I'm a real cop. He's like, how would you embezzle $15 million? Cool, okay, got it. And like that's all the backstory I need.
That's all I need, man.
And then the only other trivia, and this is also kind of crazy, so that the train scene in Arizona, when they're on the train, I think this is when they jump off, right? Because they know that they're going to stop at wherever.
He throws them off, and he goes, there's stops. That's why we have, because so people can get off of the train. We don't usually jump off a train. Yeah.
So when they were filming the train scene there, they actually prevented a real-life kidnapping. There were attempted kidnappers trying to kidnap a young woman from a coffee shop in Flagstaff, and then a dozen or so cop cars, quote-unquote cop cars, that were just driven by extras, drove down the street, and they got scared, and they ran off. They threw down the girl and fled the scene of the attempted kidnapping. So can you imagine, like, the most terrifying moment of your life? Like, you're about to get kidnapped, held for ransom, or any number of, like, terrible things running through your mind.
Yes.
And you're saved because they're shooting a movie?
Robert De Niro saved your kidnapping?
There's a documentary that was made, like a short document. I don't remember what it's called, but there was that guy who was convicted of murder. Not convicted of murder. He was accused of murder.
I remember this. Like, and he's at the baseball game.
I wasn't there. And the baseball game. And he was in like 3 frames of one episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. And like you see a scene where like Larry David is walking up the steps and he's walking down the steps with his kid.
Yeah.
And like that's him. And so like because of this, they were able to like
exonerate this guy. Yeah.
But like it's just so weird how like sometimes sometimes movies, like, I think movies get, like, this rap for, like, or video games, too. It's like, oh, they caused this kid to shoot up his school or whatever, just, like, all this terrible things. But it's like, on the other hand, it's like, hey, sometimes movies stop crimes, too. It's just like,
Maybe.
yeah, they're in the defense, too.
That's really cool. That's a really cool
It's
story.
weird.
I'm going to
Yeah.
tell my dad that one tomorrow. He'll be really excited to hear that. I'm sure he doesn't know it because he doesn't have a computer, so he's not reading IMDb facts about his favorite movie.
And like I said, there is almost literally every actor who was an actor in the 80s was considered for one of these two roles. So if you want to just see, like, but I mean, just like think of an actor, like, yeah, that they were considered for one of these parts. So, but I think De Niro's great in this movie. I think he's got the
So
action
good.
chops, the comedy chops. He's believable here. I like it.
Yeah, he is. Like you said, he plays the straight man well, but he's also comedic. Like, he's great in this one. I really liked
Yeah.
it.
Well, let's hope that he's great in the next one too. A movie that I have not seen, Ronan. Have you seen Ronan?
I've not seen Ronin.
So what we are led to believe
I maybe
is
know
that
the
this
car
has
chase scene. I
car chase.
maybe know the car chase scene. Like, I might have watched it with friends at some point, but I don't remember.
I want to say how difficult it was, relatively difficult it was, to find a picture of a car from this movie for the art for this episode. Because if you Google, like, Midnight Run, it's, like, all just pictures of them.
Yeah.
But, like, to have to find a picture is, like, how could I sell this to, like, the general public? Not the people who listen care, but just, like, why are they covering this movie? It's like, oh, there's a car. Okay, I understand.
There is a car. There's one car in this movie.
But like I was saying, like, there's like a station wagon, and then there's the the car that the other bounty hunter drives, and there's the cop car that they drive for a little bit.
And it's funny because, like, I was talking to my dad and I said to him, like, oh, we're doing classic car movies. He's like, are you doing Midnight Run? And it was like, what? So I don't know how they all equate this to a car movie. Maybe we just saw car movies with, like, very long or, like, very deep car movies.
I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that I watched this.
Yeah, I love it. It's fun. It was a lot of fun.
I will admit to a little bit of, not bias. Bias is the wrong word, but like when we looked at a list of like these 30 classic car movies or whatever, I like looked on my letterbox list to see like A, which movies are rated highly because they're probably going to be better, but
Yeah.
B, like which ones I had marked before that I wanted to see, and I was just like, oh, these are probably like better ones. Like there's some that like I'd never heard of during Mary Crazy Larry
Yep.
before
Yep.
Tarantino, Two Lane Blacktop I didn't know before the Patron pick. Like
Yep.
we just did more obscure ones, but there were certain ones, especially like once we went to two a week and we were looking for other things, I was like, well, let me kind of do two birds with one stone, find good movies that are on these lists, but also
Totally
ones that I
fair.
really wanted to see. And this checked all those boxes, but like it's not really a car movie, but who cares?
Neither was My Cousin Vinny or Back to the Future either, so.
Also, I do want to say that this is kicking old school classic car movies, one from 1988 and one from 2002. So, whoops.
What?
I mean, they're not classic car movies. They're like 88's not classic, I don't think.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Which
I do
one was
want to
from
think
2002?
Ronan's from 2002.
Oh, okay. Whoops. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Who cares? Whatever. Again, who cares?
There's no rules. The only rule is there's no rules.
I think we need to figure out, because my lists of the two things don't make any sense, is like, what's our cutoff? Like, when we do like a modern car movies versus another lap of these, should we say in the era of Fast and Furious, 2001 and beyond is new and
Yes.
before 2001 is old?
That feels fair. Yeah.
In the year of our Dom?
And the AD after Dom.
Because like what's weird is that I have like classic car movies is stuff from the 80s, but then I have like Days of Thunder in modern car movies, but that's only because I covered it for Tom Cruise and it feels more modern even though it's from 1990, and it's like that's not really much different, right? It's still, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's like post 90s is like when it changes, right?
Yeah, so I think the demarcation of 2001, both the new millennium, but also just, so it does, I think, with our weird system, which I think makes sense, movies from the year 2000, classic car movies, baby.
Yeah, true.
Any other thoughts about Midnight Run before we come back on Friday for Ronin?
No, if you guys want like a fun one to watch and you're just bored, I think this is a great fun movie to watch and you should check it out. I don't think it's like super hype. It's not one that like everybody talks about, so
Right.
you get to see early De Niro and you get to have like a fun movie with a good premise and it plays well. It feels quicker than 2 hours. It is 2 hours, but it was good. I liked it.
And I do think that like it's intentionally so rougher around the edges than Back to the Future. Like I think the word fuck is said something like 119 times in this movie. Like it's more adult, but I also do feel like as long as like a little bit of violence and a little bit of action and a little bit of language or a lot of language or whatever doesn't offend you, it does feel like the kind of movie that could sort of make any kind of audience happy. You know what I mean? Because it feels
a very parental watching movie, right? There's like no
Yeah.
sex. It's just like mild violence. They just say fuck a lot.
It's charming. Like, that's what I've learned. I mean, watching older movies, it's like there was a charm to these kind of things. Like, before everything got like super slick and modern, which I still love, there was just something like kind of loose and like charming and just weirdly
wholesome.
Effortless. Yeah, not even like a different kind of feel to these. And I feel like this is kind of a great example of like a movie that people should see, but people kind of don't know about. Because like Midnight Run is a cool title, but like it doesn't explain what it is, right?
No.
It's just like a...
Nothing
like, even after Googling what it is, I don't know. So, for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, or at TooFast2Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family, at cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFast2Forever.com. If you're not already at the $10 tier and you want to get a pick in each lap, as long as we're doing 2 movies per week, do that, $10 a month. That would be very cool of you. Be a lot cooler if you did. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen if you can. Email us, family at cageclub.me, and come back on Friday as we wrap up Robert De Niro week with Ronin.
Yes.
I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe, too.
And we'll see you next time right here on Too Fast, Too Forever. Peace out.
Peace out.
You anus piecers.